and our waters. It's in our artistry. And across our land. It's in our history. And our cities. It's in all our stones that stand. It's time to come and find it. It's time to come and feel it. Scotland, a spirit of its own.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to day number 4 of the British Championships here in the incredible Tollcross Swimming Centre. I am Cassie Patton and I am looking forward to being your host here this morning. We are going to have some amazing races for you. We've got Adam Peaty in the 200 metres breaststroke. We've got Francesca Holso in the 100 metres freestyle, and we've got lots more. As always, we are going to bring you that behind the scenes gossip. We're going to show you all the actions from the heats and finals. And if you want to get in touch with us, tweet us. The hashtag is BSC16 and we will be reading all of those. And I'm looking forward to have some guests in the studio with me later on, and we're going to be bringing you all the exclusive action from this centre all weekend. We have seen some great swims. Last night we saw Match Litchfield break that consideration time for the 400 metres IM, and he was looking so happy. He finished that, and I think he was in a little bit of shock, and that's what we love. So we are going to be bringing you all those. We've got those 200 metres breaststroke. That consideration time is 2:08. Now that is inside Adam Peaty and Ross Murdoch's PB. So hopefully we're going to be seeing some great heat swims and then going through into the finals this evening. I'm going to be looking forward to speaking to Bob Ballard and Ross Davenport later on as well, hearing all the commentating, all of their expert knowledge from the pool, and we'll be hearing from them just a fraction later on. I'm so happy to be here. It's really amazing. 8 years ago, I was here. I was in this position racing at the Olympic trials and the British Championships. So to be here on the other side, on the TV side of it, it is incredible. I'm going to be having some guests with me later on. I'm going to have Kate Gray is going to be joining me just about there, and we're going to be having some chats about all of the action as well. And she's just at the moment waking up the crowd, getting everybody ready, as you can hear, as if on cue, with that cheering there in the background. So they'll be getting all that cheering behind them. You can see the pool here looking excellent. This is the schedule for day number 3. We have got the 200 metres breaststroke, Adam Peaty and Ross Murdoch and Andrew Willis. We've got the 100 metres freestyle, Francesca Holso, Lauren Quigley and the Shaul Maria Collar. We haven't seen her yet, but she's up in that 100 metres freestyle. Going on to the 100 metres butterfly, we have Anthony James and Adam Barrett. Moving on to the 200 metres backstroke, we see Elizabeth Simmons and Jessica Fullerlove, and then finishing it off with the 1500 metres freestyle with Stephen Mill and Daniel Jarvis. Finishing off then. I'm going to be heading over very soon to Bob Ballard and the 2-time Olympian and Commonwealth medalist Ross Davenport.
Morning, welcome to Tollcross and the heart of Glasgow, day 4 of the British Swimming Championships 2016 here, and I think the most eagerly awaited and anticipated event of the whole programme is coming up first this morning. So wide open. Who's going to get, hopefully, the 2 spots to take to the Rio 2016 Olympics from the men's 200 metres breaststroke? You can make a case for about 5 different swimmers getting those 2 spots. And we'll find out who it's going to be tonight. But, of course, they've got to qualify first, and there's no semi-finals to remember. So they have to go straight from heats to final, and Ross Davenport alongside me. This is going to be a very interesting heat session just to see who makes those 8 places.
It certainly is. You've already mentioned that it's going to be so competitive with a number of swimmers that are hoping to make the team for Rio 2016, but they've got to make the final first, and it's starting off with a bang this morning on day 4 at the Tollcross International Leisure Centre, and it's just going to be an explosion this morning. You've got the likes of Adam Peaty, the national record holder for England on the 200 breaststroke. You've got Andrew Willis, who competed in the Olympic final in 2012. Ross Murdoch, the British record holder. Craig Brenton, who has looked absolutely impeccable all the way through this championship so far. Focused more on the 200, but he had a really good 100. And can you count out the silver medalist from London 2012, Michael Jameson? At your peril.
Yeah, I don't think you can. It didn't look as great as we'd hoped for in the 100 breaststroke, but the 200 is his best event, as he proved in London 2012, as Ross mentioned, where he got the silver medal behind Daniel Guieta. That's all of 3 3/4 years ago now, as we approach another end of the Olympic cycle in August in Rio. Some have already hopefully booked their places on the plane, on the team to Brazil later this year, and well, it'd be a surprise if 2 men don't in the 200 breaststroke. To be honest, it's a very, very strong event, arguably the strongest event in British swimming right now.
Yes, and probably the 100 metres breaststroke as well. Really, really strong events, and that heritage, that history continues to thrive in 2016. We've seen it over the last, I don't know, 40 years. 35 years, and the men's breaststroke is just incredibly strong. And
then we can explain why. Well, we have this production line. You can go back to David Wilkie in '76. David Wilkie then kind of passed the baton on to Duncan Goodhue. Duncan Goodhue to Adrian Morehouse. Adrian Morehouse and Nick Gillingham. Nick Gillingham. Then we had James Gibson, Darren Mew, Chris Cook, Adam Whitehead. We've had not just 1 or 2. We've always had a clutch of world-class breaststroke for the last 40 years.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then you move in up, and the likes of Chris Gilchrist, Michael Jameson, now moving into the Adam Peaty, Craig Benson, Ross Murdoch. It just continues to go. And the good thing about it as well is we'll be watching this morning and into the junior and the Tokyo finals the future of the British swimming.
Yeah, we'll see who's emerging. We had a lot of depth in the 100, didn't we? We were seeing a lot of good new personal bests in the 100 breast for the youngsters coming through. So the future looks great there too. The 200 perhaps won't have quite the depth of the 100 because of the nature of the stroke and the length of it. But here comes the first of the heats of the 200 breaststroke, and we have 8 going to posts. It's rare. This week we've had 8 in the first heat, but we do here. And that's your lineup. I'll run through it for you so we'll have time in the 200 breaststroke to do that. Slow stroke of the 4, of course. Conor Bryan, City of Oxford, will go in 1. William Ritchie of Preston in 2. Gregory Butler, our City of Derby, 3. Callum Smart, our Oxford swimmer, goes in 4. James McFadden, we've seen him already this week a couple of times. Wickham District is who he swims for. And Nathan Hughes back again for some more, this time in the 200 breast in lane number 6. Jake Dixon, City of Birmingham, in 7, and Daniel Brooks of the Beacon Club going in lane 8. First heat of the 200 breaststroke.
It does look like a great start from lane number 7, Jake Dixon, City of Birmingham. Coached by former swimmer Carl Grosvenor. Also going well is lane number 6. I've seen Nathan Hughes. I've seen him do the 400 medley, 400 free, now the 200 breaststroke. He does everything. Also to keep an eye out on lane 3, Greg Butler from City of Derby. He's actually obviously the same club as Adam Peaty, but he's actually breaking Adam Peaty's records as he goes through. But Adam had a huge upward curve towards the 16, 17, 18 years of age. So Adam was a bit more of a late developer, but we'll certainly see keep one eye on him. But it still is a swim of Jake Dixon. You don't like his stroke, do you? You don't. This is the one. This is the guy that you don't like his stroke on the 100 breaststroke. It's better than yours, Bob.
Well, that wouldn't take a lot of doing, to be absolutely honest. But we are watching Jake from Birmingham in lane number 7, and once again he's leading.
A lot more efficient on the 200.
nowhere near as jerky. Yeah, there's no kink in it, which there was in the 100.
That's what you get when you start to increase the stroke rate. Everything is more exaggerated. So he's got time now on the 200 to lengthen it out. He does have that speed off the 100, and that's why he was leading at the 100-metre mark. But the rest of the field now are starting to catch up with him. It does look like it is going to be Callum Smart from City of Oxford in lane number 4. It's now moved out ahead. A really strong third 50.
1:44.31, the turning time for Callum Smart. I'll give you an idea of the range of personal bests here. Best in the field is at 2:22.69 from Callum Smart. So they're all around about the 2:22, 2:23, 2:24 mark. So anybody goes sub 2:23 pretty much will be doing a PB here. And I think we can safely assume, even at this stage, we're going to see a personal best from Callum Smart in lane number 4. Can he go sub 2:20 for the first time? Just going to be outside it, I think. Yep, 2:21.21. Nice symmetry about that. And a good new personal best for Callum Smart. Second place going to Nathan Hughes at Hatfield. So he's managed to throw off the lethargy of last night. 2:21.84. And third, Conor Bryant in 2:22.81. So I think 1, 2, 3, all with personal best there.
Yeah, great to see on the first heat of day number 4. Like I mentioned, we've seen Nathan Hughes swim quite a lot this week, and every single race he comes back incredibly quick down whether it's the last 100, whether it's the last 50. He really does have that endurance background of doing the 400 medley, the 400 freestyle, now doing the 200 breaststroke. No doubt we'll see him another 10 times before the weekend's out.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like he's got a very busy program this week. And that busy program is giving him some good results. Certainly personal best pretty much all the way through at the moment. As we move on to heat number 2 of the men's 200 metres breaststroke. And again, we have 8 going to start. Here comes your lineup. James Miller of Portsmouth in 1. Craig Barnes of South Ayrshire in 2. Joshua Lawson of Millfield in 3. Kieran Alsop of Portsmouth in 4. Joseph Burren of Newcastle. Don't have a lane 3. No lane 3 swimmer, so scratch that. Joseph Burren of Newcastle in 5. George Clough of Warrender in 6. Cameron Muir of South Ayrshire in 7. Callum Laurie of First in lane 8. And somebody's making an awful lot of noise in this building. I wonder who that is.
I was going to say, somebody's brought in the crowd, haven't they, this morning? Hopefully it's not for the swimmer in lane 3, because it's not here, so
yeah,
they'll be cheering on the wrong lane. Kieran Alsop from Portsmouth Northsea, turning first, 31.58. Already actually quite a way ahead. Also going well on the outside lanes is James Miller and Callum Laurie in lanes 1 and 8.
Kieran also will be looking to do something he's never done before. That's go sub 2:20, 2:20.28 is his personal best, and he's got quite a march over the rest of the field over the first 100. In fact, the gap is just over a second, about 1.18 between Kieran Alsop in first and Joseph Burren in second. Third place in the outside lane, lane 1, James Miller of Portsmouth.
It's a really long, smooth stroke. See him gliding under the water. Real powerful kick, followed by that arm pull. And his head down, really gliding. It's all about being really efficient on breaststroke. And the less strokes you can take with the most amount of power is better. And that's what a lot of these swimmers are doing. They're lengthening out the stroke opposed to the 100, where it's a lot more of a higher tempoed stroke rate.
Look at the gap now. It's well over a second and a half to Callum Laurie in second place, Joseph Burren in third. Now, can he maintain this? Because he's going to go sub 2:20 if he does. Might go sufficiently inside 2:20 to have a really big celebration at the end of this race.
He's the oldest swimmer in this field, 97 born. He's also got a very commanding lead.
He has, not quite as big as it seemed at 150, but it's still going to be substantial when he comes into touch, as he does now. And he has go sub 2:20 for the first time. 2:19.55, good new personal best. We're getting a lot of those this morning. The more the merrier as far as we're concerned. 2:19.55 winning time. 2:21.51 from George Clough in second. Callum Laurie finishing in third in 2:21.70. So fastest time of the morning so far, 2:19.55.
You see him coming into the final 5. Probably should have finished on this stroke, but he put another stroke in right at the end.
Ooh.
Probably cost him a couple of tenths of a second, but we're working on that with his coach.
Bit of a hop, wasn't it, into the wall, but got there eventually and got there with a decent time. Best time he'd ever done, 2:19.55. That's your 1 to 8. I'll run through them because they came up rather quickly and disappeared quite quickly. So here comes heat 3 of the 200 breaststroke. Yaron Gerber of Barnet in 1, Edmund Ashton of London Aquatics in 2, Luke Davis in lane 3, Ross Murdoch, first of the big hitters, University of Stirling going in lane 4, James Wilby of Loughborough in 5, Ed Baxter of Cockermouth in 6, Joel O'Halloran of Bermondside in 7, and Andrew Page of Loughborough in lane 8. This should all be about Ross Murdoch against the clock unless somebody comes up with a surprise. What's the split time for Ross?
30.08, 3/10 of a second ahead of James Wilby in lane number 5 from Loughborough University. Had a great 100, James. And Ross, to be fair, but James had a massive, sizable PB, getting down to the 60-point lows. Ross was just slightly out of his lifetime best on the 100 metres breaststroke, but that time was set last year at the World Championships when he gained a bronze medal. I've got to have an apology for Jake Dixon. I said that you didn't like his stroke. It's actually, so Jake Dixon's from City of Birmingham. But so is Luke Davis. And that's the stroke you were commenting on the 100.
I thought it looked definitely dissimilar to what we'd seen the other day.
But you can also see, I don't know if you can see on the screen, because it's all about Ross Murdoch, but again, it's a lot longer on the 200 than it is on the 100. It's more focused on the 200 metre event, but this is a possession for Ross Murdoch so far, as you probably would imagine. Tracking him is James Wilby and Luke Davis.
Question is, of course, with such a stacked field, is how fast he goes in the morning to make absolutely sure that he doesn't slip out of the top 8, because top 8 is not a gimme this morning by any means, but he is now on the last 50 saying, right, time for me to go, leave everybody else behind. James Wilby in 5, goodbye. Luke Davis in 3, see ya. This is the last 15 for Ross Murdoch. We're looking for time around about 2:09s, 2:10s in the heat, and it's going to be 2:11, in fact, 2:11.06. Just stretch the time out a little bit. 2:11.06, comfortably done, not blowing too much, looking all right. I think he'll be okay with that. Well, he almost certainly will be with the heats to come. And job very well done for Ross Murdoch, and plenty more hopefully to come from him in the evening.
Yeah, some 2 and a bit seconds off his entry time. That is not his lifetime best. His lifetime best was set in this pool in the Commonwealth Games in 2014 when he gained that gold medal. 2:7.3. So it was about the 4th fastest time in history.
Yeah, looks all right. Don't think there's any worries there. Now, Andrew Willis, what have you got for us now? The Olympic finalist from 2012, going in lane number 4, flanked either side by Ewan Inglis of Edinburgh University, Robert Holderness of Millfield in 2, Richard Spoor of Loughborough in 3, Callum Tate, Edinburgh 5, Charlie Atwood, Bath 6, Kieran Preston of Edinburgh in 7, David Murphy in 8. Now, Andrew Willis did a personal best, a lifetime best in the 100 breaststroke, and looking good, very good, in the 200 thus far.
Yeah, first PB on the 100 for Andrew Willis for 4 years, so he's in great shape, adding more speed to his programme to try and help him get out there in the front with the fast guys. And he's obviously going to be competing against Adam Peaty, who goes 57, so he's still some 2 and a bit seconds behind him at the 100 stage. But has he got more endurance than Adam? Can he reel him in? The stroke is more suited to the 200, Andrew Willis, than the 100. But you've got Robert Holderness in lane 2, competed for Wales in the 2014 Commonwealth Games. So did Callum Tate, for Scotland, should I say, in Edinburgh, and that's in lane number 5. So it is Andrew Willis at the halfway stage, 62.46.
Should be those spelling his football team. He's a big Chelsea fan, is Andrew Willis. Not be thinking too much about their season right now, just thinking about getting a decent time to post in the heats of the 200 breaststroke, and it looks like he's going to do that. No real attack coming from anybody else at the moment, though the best approach at the moment is coming from Robert Holderness in lane 2.
Yeah, Robert Holderness is starting to work through the field. It had a really slow first 100 actually, and now he's working his way through, but It's going to be Callum Tate that turns second behind Andrew Willis. Andrew Willis has got more of a longer stroke length than Ross Murdoch. We'll have to see how the time works out. The turning is very similar at the 150-metre stage. So you would expect from what we've seen from Ross Murdoch, this will be around the 2:11. We've got 15 metres to find out.
Yeah, visibly it looks like he might go marginally quicker than Ross Murdoch. I think more like a 2:10 than a 2:11 coming up here for Andrew Willis, and it is a 2:10.47, so fastest of the morning. Excellent job. Not a bad job done either by Rob Holderness, who got into second place in the end, 2:13.57. That was the Millfield lot we were looking at there in the coach's pen. And that is Bath's Andrew Willis as we get ready to see PT against Jameson.
Sorry, I was just going to say Andrew Willis really backed off the last 5 metres and just glided into the wall.
And won it by 3 seconds.
Yes, I was just saying, so, you know, you'd expect a lot more to come. And this is an intriguing one for me. Not only that you've got the world record holder in the 100 metres in lane number 4, but Craig Benson. Not a lot of people are talking about Craig Benson. Really good 100.
Let's see, we have the Olympic silver medalist in this field. He goes in lane number 3, but is he in that kind of form? Is he close to that kind of form? We'll find out very soon. Adam Peaty, we know what he's done in the 100. We know what he's capable of in the 200 as well. He hates to be beaten. He's one of these real racers who hates to be beaten. Now, Michael Jameson is approaching this race differently from how he used to. He's going out strongly on the first 50.
He's got to do that to get some confidence back. He's had an awful 2 years. He came to the Commonwealth Games and he got a silver medal. It's not shocking, but he wanted to come here in Glasgow and really smash the British record, smash the world record, and in fact actually it was Ross Murdoch that went and got the win. So he's going to have to get a lot of confidence back in the system, and this is what he's going to be using it this morning. Craig Benson's a little bit further down. You would expect to see Adam Peaty out there in the front because of that speed, that natural speed that he's got. Nicholas Quinn from Edinburgh University is going to be turning second in 63.61. So it's around about a second slower than what Andrew Willis went through at the 100 metre stage. But I've got to be honest, Michael Jameson does look good in lane number 3. He's got a point to prove. This is in his words, his home pool. He's a Glasgow lad, big Celtic fan. But we're not really, Adam Peaty, you just don't know, because he hasn't got that history on the 200, what he's going to do.
Nicholas Quinn I'm watching here. Look at Nicholas Quinn going, lane number 6. He might be leading here. Very close to it. He is leading.
He is leading, yeah. He is leading. And again, still around about a second slower than the previous heat. And they finished on a 2:10, but there's 4 guys in a line here.
That's what I mean about trying to get a top 8 place. It's not a gimme, is it?
It certainly isn't. Michael Jameson's starting to lengthen out, but he's slipping back a little bit. Here comes Craig Benson working his way through the field. This is the heat. This is the heat, Bob.
What a race this is. It is Adam Peaty, Craig Benson, Nicholas Quinn, all in line. Michael Jameson's coming back as well, but it will just be Adam Peaty by 8/100ths of a second, 2:12.16. What a race that turned out to be. Not as quick, nowhere near as quick as Andrew Willis. Peaty 2:12.16, Craig Benson 2:12.24. They are safe. Michael Jameson will progress as well. Nicholas Quinn, who was leading with 50 to go, 2:12.61. So a group of 2:12s there. Amazing stuff. We will have the board revolving shortly to tell you who has made that final. It definitely will be Andrew Willis as the fastest qualifier for tonight. What a finish there from Adam Peaty, just getting in the touch ahead of Craig Benson with a 2:12.16. So I think we can say that Peaty and Benson made it. Here we go. Willis, Murdoch, Peaty, Benson, Michael Jameson, Nicholas Quinn, James Wilby and Rolf Holderness. 2:10 up to 2:13 on the 8 finalists for tonight.
Hello, I am joined now by Kate Gray, a Paralympian. So, Kate, we have 6 men there within 4 seconds of that consideration time. What are you thinking for this evening?
This 200 breaststroke is going to be one of the most anticipated races of this British Championships. I mean, you've got Adam Peaty, Ross Murdoch, Andrew Willis, all of them really going for that time, as well as Michael Jameson, Craig Benson. I mean, the talent is just so exciting. I really can't wait what's going to happen in the final.
Definitely that last heat where all four of those gentlemen were coming in neck and neck. Are we going to see such a close final? What do you think?
Absolutely. Across all 8 lanes, I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be interesting to see if that pressure in that final heat was actually going to cause them to tense up a little bit more, whereas Ross and Andrew Willis in the earlier heats looked a bit more relaxed. They didn't have the pressure on their shoulders. So it'll be interesting to see what impact the heat has had on these swimmers ready for the final.
Well, Andrew Willis is going to be going in fastest heat, but you can see here on the replay, those 4 gentlemen, there's really not a lot that separates them. You can just see Michael Jameson in that far lane. It's good to see him back on form.
Absolutely. He didn't seem to be on best of form in the 100 metres, but he seems to just be getting it right in the 200. Adam Peaty just touching first, but he's a sprinter. He knows how to get those finishes right, and it's whether he's got the back end to compete with these 200 metre specialists.
Thank you, Kate. We now move on to the women's 100 metres freestyle.
First of the heats, and that is your lineup 2 to 7. So no lane 1, no lane 8 in the first heat of the 100 freestyle. Annalise Benyon of City of Cardiff in 1, Bethany Newton-Street in 3, Orla Dyer of City of Sheffield, what night it was for them last night, goes in 4, Amy Grant of City of Derby in 5, Madeline Exton of Rushmore in 6, Emma Whittingham in 7. So we saw the 50 last night. Ross, here comes the twice the length version of the women's freestyle.
Yeah, and a lot of these swimmers were in the junior and the Target Tokyo final from last night. And the winner of one of those heats was Emma Grant from City of Derby, who's turned in 3rd in 28.13. Just 1/10 behind the leader, Orla Dyer from City of Sheffield. What a night Sheffield had last night, with the Max Litchfield going under the consideration time for Rio. But these 4 girls in the centre, all very tightly compact.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be either 3 or 4, Orla Dyer, or maybe even 5. Amy Grant's coming with a good fish, and 6. Madeline Exton as well. They're going to go to the wall all together, and Amy Grant does get there just first in 58.04. Second place to Madeline Exton of Rushmore, 58.19. And third place to Orla Dyer, 58.26. Let's have a quick look at the old personal bests, and that was a new personal best for Amy Grant, 58.04. She had done 58.31, but 58.04 this time around, so she's not about a third of a second off her personal best this morning. On to the 100 freestyle. We'll have a lot of the same names that we saw in the 50 yesterday, like Anna Pang, for example, going in 2 for Guildford. Mia Hawkes of Barnet in 1. Jane Brown, Newcastle 3. Bethany Hunt of Reading in 4. Athena Clayson of Mount Kelly in 5. Amy Godsave from London Aquatics. No, I won't do that joke again. 7. Anna Main of Woking, and Magdalena Seigen of City of Leeds going in lane number 8.
It looks like a great start from lane number 7. Anna Main from Woking. Also going very, very well in lane number 2. Anna Pang, should I say. She had a great 50 last night, so she's using that speed, transferring it into the following day. Great turn as well, taking around about 6, 7, 8 metres underwater. Also now coming back in lane number 3 and 5. It is Jane Brown in lane 3.
Anna Pang's on for a decent personal best. She keeps going at this rate, although she's now been caught by Jane Brown in lane number 3, and also closest to us, Anna Main's kept it going. Anna Main might just get to the wall first. I think she's going to for Woking. 57.88 for Anna. Second place Jane Brown, and Anna Pang in third place. So the winning time once again for Anna Main is 57.88. And from her point of view, that's the first time she's been in the 57s.
Yeah, great swim. Out in one of the outside lanes, concentrating on her own race. Doesn't bother what the so-called faster lanes 4 and 5 were doing. Just concentrating on her own race. Jane Brown didn't have a great finish as well, and I think that's probably what, because she looked when she went past our eye line to be slightly ahead. She had a poor finish, and I think that's probably why she got second and not the first.
Third heat of the 100 freestyle for women. Anna Fleming, City of Glasgow in 1. Emily Large, Newcastle, had a great night last night. Had a great sessions so far in this pool this week. In 2, Freya Anderson, Ellesmere. 3, Hayley Monteith of Edinburgh. 4, 5, Emma Gage. Emma England of Plymouth in 6. Amber Mason in 7 for City Elite. And Elizabeth Harris of Stockport Metro in 8. Let's see whether Emily Large can do another PB. Pretty much every time she's been in the pool this week, she's done a sizable personal best.
Yeah, she certainly has. She's out in lane number 2. She's nowhere near the leader at the halfway stage, but she's a lot younger than Emma Cage. And Stockport Metro turning first. She streaks out, absolutely flying. 75 metres gone. She's over a body length ahead of Hayley Monteith from Edinburgh University, and she's just streaking away.
Well, Sean Kelly, the Stockport Metro head coach, is looking for something to kickstart their week. He hasn't had a great 3 days by his own admission. His swimmers haven't had a great 3 days by their own admission. 55.92 is where the clock stops for the Stockport Metro swimmer. And that's a big personal best. Yeah, that's well over a second now. He'll be happy enough with that. Not been terribly happy with most of his charges over the first 3 days, but that is a very good, maybe one of the best swims from the Stockport team this week. 55.92, Freya Anderson in 2nd and Hayley Monteith in 3rd.
Absolute cracking swim. Really great swim. 57.19 her entry time. 55.92.
Let me see if I can see him in the pen. I can't at the moment, but I'm sure there will be a big smile on Sean's face off the back of that. Maybe what they need to kickstart their week. Heat number 4 of the women's 100 freestyle. Chloe Tutton goes in lane 1. It's the winner earlier in the week. But breaststroke, 200 breaststroke, doing the 100 free here. Isabella Hindley of Chelsea and West in 3. Georgia Davis in 3 for Loughborough. 4, Libby Mitchell, Swansea. 5, Maya Westlake of City of Sheffield. Anne Bockman of Bath University in 6. Hannah Featherstone, Sedgefield 7. And Rebecca Sherwin of Team Ipswich in lane 8. They finished the first 50. How's it looking?
Well, take a guess who used the whole 15 metres underwater and had a fantastic turn at the halfway stage.
Georgia Davis.
No, Chloe Tutton, the breaststroker. So, you'd expect it would be Georgia Davis using that underwater from the backstroke, but no, it's actually a breaststroker. But Georgia Davis is flying in lane 3. Seen her on the 100 metres backstroke. Look at this for a swim. Also going well is Chloe Tutton. Breaststroke, 200 breaststroker from day 2.
Yeah, the backstroker and the breaststroker having a go, and it is Georgia Davis.
Nice. Very nice.
55.85 is her winning time. So how's that compare with the entry time? Yeah, well, it's looking better than she's gone before, certainly in terms of her entry time. Anyway, Georgia Davis previously 56.9, 55.8. So we're talking about a second improvement there from a senior racer, not just one of the juniors, but one of the seniors has improved her time. Maybe not an event she does all that often, let's be honest, but nonetheless, she's improved by a second.
Yeah, she certainly has. I don't think, I can't remember the last time that Georgia Davis has, in a serious competition, has done 100 metres freestyle, but should do it more often.
Yeah, well, maybe they need something for the potential relay if you get to that stage. On to heat number 5. Catherine Greenslade of Preston in 1. Georgia Coates of City of Leeds in 2. Rachel Louise Masson of South Aberdeen in 3. Laura Quigley, so maybe she can pick up on the good start for Stockport this morning in lane 4. Rebecca Guy, City of Manchester Aquatics 5. Lucy Hope of Edinburgh in 6. 7, Emma Saunders of City of Manchester Aquatics. And 8 is Rebecca Murray in first. Getting into the quicker swimmers here. Let's see what Lauren Quigley can do. Is she leading at the turn? No, she's not. Rebecca Guy is.
No, she's 3rd at turn. She had a great start, first to 25, but it is actually Rebecca Guy from the City of Manchester Aquatics that's turning first, 26.79. And she now has probably an arm length advantage over Field, but in lane number 6, Lucy Hope is starting to charge through, as is the swimmers in 2, 3 and 4.
Lucy Hope up against Rachel Louise Masson here for the touch. Who's going to get there first? It's Georgia Coates, 56.02 for Leeds. Second is Rebecca Guy, and third place going to Lucy Hope. Winning time 56.02, not as fast as the previous 2 heats actually in terms of the finishing time, 56.02. So they went quicker in heat number 3 and heat number 4. And that's your winning time for Georgia Coates, and again it is a personal best for her by about a quarter of a second.
Where did she come from?
Well, she wasn't in the frame with about 15 to go, and suddenly got the best finish of the lot, but there you go.
We have seen her do the 400 medley, 200 metre freestyle. She was really well in top 4, so hopefully they'll be considered for the 4x200 relay.
Last heat of the women's 100 freestyle. Now, Fran Housel, how she's going to swim and how she slept overnight after a disappointing 50 by her standards yesterday. And she's going to try and put the wrongs right here and really blitz this heat. She's done that before. She's gone for a real blistering heat, which has helped things. Maybe she'll do that this morning.
Yeah, maybe she's going to go out there and really test the waters. She's been focusing a lot on the 15. You can see that's, she's over 1.2 seconds ahead of anybody at the halfway stage. I expected to go to about the 75, 85 metre mark and then probably just step off the gas a little bit. But actually, it looks like she really is charging. Yeah. It doesn't look like she's giving up at all.
No, it's Fran, not quite flat out at the end, but probably 90 to 95% so. 54.22. That was an angry young lady just wanting to get last night's memory out of the memory bank and start all over again. Her entry time 54.10, 54.22 this morning.
Yeah, I didn't look like she let up at all. She went out really strong. She does have that natural speed. She sits very high in the water and just kind of hovers her way through. The big surprise last year when she got narrowly beaten by the swimmer in lane number 4 coming up in this heat, Siobhan Marie O'Connor. So it'll be an interesting race tonight. France, certainly on the 50, it was her 11th title on the 50, and she'd had the 100 free for a long way all her own way. But then this little girl, this young girl, I should say, came up a couple of years ago, started doing the 100 freestyle, the multi-eventer.
Yeah, I think I did say last heat of the 100 free because I saw Fran Housel on it and automatically assumed it was the last heat, 100 free, because it always normally is with her being the fastest. But these days things have changed, and as you mentioned, Siobhan Marie O'Connor, first time we've seen her in the pool on day 4. Here she goes in lane number 4. Hello, goodbye.
Yeah,
she's off.
Her skill level is ridiculous. Her starts and turns are up there with the very, very best in the world, and you can see that the first opening 25 metres. She has a sizable lead. First time we've seen her in the pool this week. Opted out of doing the 200 metres freestyle. But she's not as far ahead as Francesca Housel was at the halfway stage. And she is going to turn first, 26.38. Anna Hopkin from a great 50 for her from Bath University in lane number 6. But it is now, this is where Siobhan Marie O'Connor really comes into her own, the latter half of the race.
She started like Ballyregan Bob out of trap 1. Let's see what time she can come up with in the heats. Ooh, a bit of a glide in. Very unlike Siobhan, that. 54.29 is her time, which compares with a 54.22 from Fran Housel, so not quite as quick. 7 100ths between them, so Fran Housel will go into the final as the lane 4 occupant tonight.
Sets up very nicely.
We'll have the results for you in just a moment. We'll give you the 1 to 8 for the final, tell you who's in, and then you can work out who's out from this 8. It'll be Fran Housel, Siobhan Marie O'Connor as the top 2 in terms of qualification. Who's going to join them in the final? Who are the other 6 that have made it through? Harriet Cooper, Georgia Davis, Anna Hopkin, Emma Gage, Jessica Jackson, and Georgia Coates will all be back for more in the main final tonight.
So we have so many events to look forward to. We have the 100 fly, the 200 back and the 1500 metres. But we've just seen Francesca Housel go fastest seed into the final tonight. She was quite disappointed. I think that's quite safe to say. What were your feelings on that heat swim, Kate?
Yeah, well, following her performance last night, the 50 freestyle, I got the joys to interview her afterwards. She became British champion once again, which she's been winning year over year. But she was all going for the time. It was all about getting that consideration time to go to Rio, and she didn't achieve it, and she made her thoughts very clear. So it's interesting to see she's come back fighting this morning. She's not going to let that bother her because she's still got a chance of qualifying in the 100 metres. So she's obviously refocused and is ready to go today.
Well, snapping on her heels is Siobhan Marie O'Connor, 0.7 behind her in the heat. So, and I think that Siobhan really pushed through that final. Last 5 metres, a little bit dodgy, but there's the 2 fastest seeds going in, so it's going to be quite a tight final.
Absolutely. I spoke to Siobhan's coach just before, Dave McNulty. She trains at the University of Bath, and he was saying that it's been a long week for her. This is her first event. For her, it's a 3-day meet, and as you can, well, this is Fran here finishing in the heat before, and she had a really clear distance there. But that was Siobhan Marie O'Connor there with a brilliant distance ahead of the rest of the field. You know, the next person behind them is about 55 seconds. She goes to 54, and for her, this is the first race of this meet. She's got the 200 medley still to come, but this is her time to start getting into the meet, start warming up, start feeling strong, and it's going to be a head-to-head between her and Fran Housel.
Definitely. Well, the next event is going to be that men's 100 metres butterfly. Go pass you back to Bob and Ross.
And we'll see James Guy, amongst others, going in the 100 butterfly. We normally associate him with the 200 freestyle and the 400 freestyle. Swimmers have this strange phrase that I've never quite understood: a fun event. Ross Davenport, maybe you can explain. Over the years, people who normally are, let's say, backstrokers suddenly do freestyle, and freestylers do butterfly, and they always call it a fun event. I've never quite understood the description and the derivation of the word fun in that context, to be honest.
I'll tell you what it is. It's because there's no pressure, and it's an event that they've got to be good at it for it to be a fun event. No one's going to choose a 200 metres butterfly if you're terrible at it, but it's a fun event because there's not a lot of pressure on James Guy. He's already under the consideration time for the 400. He's got the 200 later on in the week. This is a bonus, and he's doing this because he wants to be considered for the medley relay in Rio.
Well, it's a little way off in terms of qualification yet. Got to do that. We have 3 at the start of the 100 butterfly. Peter Webster of Hatfield goes in 3. Harry Lewis Mitchell of Stockport Metro in 4. And Ross Leslie of East Kilbride in lane number 5. This is the slightly more animated version of the butterfly, but there again, there's not much you can do with butterfly other than really go all out, because if you don't go all out, then your stroke gets, let's say, wonky, shall we?
Yeah, you've got to be strong, you've got to be positive, but one thing you can't do is rush. You can't do it, and this is any stroke, you can't rush it. As soon as you start rushing it and you really start to tense up and try too hard, you start to slip the water, and by that I mean, you're not getting the purchase on the water, you're not getting the catch position, and you're not really propelling yourself forward as much as you can do. So you've got to be out positive, but a real well-paced race from Harry Lewis Mitchell from Stockport Metro.
Yeah, another good swim for the morning for Stockport Metro. Previously 57.54 was his time. Well, it's improved upon that sufficiently for, I think, a big smile to come across his face. 56.24 for Stockport Metro. Hatfield's Peter Webster in 2nd, and Ross Leslie in 3rd place.
It's interesting you mentioned that, by all accounts, Stockport Metro swimmers are probably not swimming as well as they hoped to swim, and now you've had a couple of Stockport Metro swimmers this morning real back it up and have sizable improvements on their entry time. So things can change. Things can change very, very quickly.
And we will continue. We want all the clubs to do well, all the swimmers to do well. What a deep dive from Jacob Greenoff in lane number 4 there. Again, he disappeared from view. I'm looking across going, have we got a scratch in lane 4? No, he went incredibly deep off that dive.
We even saw him in the 200 metres fly last night. He's back again this morning. It's not like he has that raw speed that some of these other guys are certainly going well. It is lane number 5. Turning 26.15. Rory Huggins from Avent and Waterlooville. Also going very well is Jarvis Parkinson. Seen him do so many events this week. In the breaststroke, he's doing the backstroke, and now he's doing the butterfly. He's going very well from Doncaster Darts. Looks like he actually is slightly ahead.
What are they doing at Doncaster at the moment after the Joe Litchfield race last night where he won it? He might just be tipped out by James Baxter though. Just gets it by 6/100ths of a second. 56.28 plays 56.34. But that's the first time he's been down in the 56s. And all those are in 56. Have never been there before. So James Baxter's made it. And so too has Oliver Lyons. Just checking that on the board there. Jarvis Parkinson, 56-8 on that finish. Right, on to heat number 3 of the men's 100 metres butterfly. A little while before we get into the main movers and shakers. But these are those who are aiming for that junior final and the junior European Championships later on in the season. So Jamie O'Connor going 1 for Thanet Swim, Max McCusker of Millfield in 2, Ryan Brown of Glasgow. This very pool in lane 3, Thomas Beasley Aberdeen in 4, William Cole of Bristol in 5, Freddie Clampett of Plymouth in 6, Aaron Hill of Warrington in 7, Lewis Burris of Stockport, they're on their way back. Southport, they're on their way back.
It is lane 2 that's touched first at the 50-metre mark. It's incredibly tight between 7 swimmers. Lewis Burras from Southport, should we say, just trained out in Dubai at the Hamilton Aquatics. It is Max McCusker of Millfield, looks like he's going to edge it.
Max McCusker is going to get there first, or is he? No, he isn't. Ryan Brown gets there first, 26.39. There was very little to choose between 1, 2 and 3 in the end. In fact, there was only 13/100ths of a second between 1, 2 and 3, and only 3 between 1 and 2. Ryan Brown getting the touch in the end for the City of Glasgow. You should know this pool inside out because he trains here. 56.39 for him. And second place to McCusker, third to Thomas Beasley. 56.39, 56.42 and 56.52 in that order. On to heat number 4. And Joe Litchfield is back. I mentioned him just now from Dogs to Darts. That fantastic 400 IM last night he took for the Target Tokyo final. Here he is amongst these. Jacob Jackson of Ellesmere College. 2, George Epsley of Basildon. 3, Jamie Ingram of Devonshire. Joseph Clark of Guildford in 4, Cameron Brooks Clark of Sheffield in 5. Up the road in Doncaster Darts, where Joe Litchfield plies his trade. Jacob Peters of Poole in 7, Sam Daly of Plymouth in 8.
We spoke about it last night, the skill level of both Joe Litchfield and Max Litchfield. And you can see there on the start and on the turn, using the majority of that 15 metres to go underwater. But it is actually lane number 1 that turned first. Jacob Jackson from Ellesmere College had a great 200. Also was going very, very strong in lane number 1.
Joseph Clark is coming through. Also in lane 8, Sam Daly from Plymouth Leander. Those are going to be in the 1, 2, 3. In fact, Sam Daly gets the touch. 55.21 for the Plymouth swimmer. Joe Litchfield ending up in second place. He was nowhere at 50, but everywhere at 100. And second place just behind Sam Daly, who actually won that by a reasonably significant distance. No, he didn't. He won it by 4/100ths in the end. And third place went to Joseph Clark. So 55.21 is the best, second best time of the morning we've seen thus far.
Just 0.3 separating the top 5 and only half a second separating the top 6. So really, really tight racing. There's a lot of these swimmers were wanting to get in the junior and the Target Tokyo final later, but they've got to be in the top 8.
So fastest time of the morning so far, 54.29. Anybody in this field better that? Luke Howdle in lane 1 trying to do it. Sam Strawn now in Loughborough. Was at Plymouth for a while. Now in Loughborough in 2. Daniel Jones of Plymouth in 3. George Emmons of Rushmore 4. Lewis Clough of Salford 5. William Condren of Portsmouth in 6. Tom Sinclair of Aqua Sulis in 7. And Matthew Domville of Warrington Wolves in lane 8.
Is lane 2. Samuel Strawn from Loughborough University, 21st, 25.89. So a lot of swimmers actually in the outside lanes doing really well this morning. Also going well is Luke Howdle from City of Sheffield in lane 1. Looks like now he has the momentum going into the wall. It's all going to be down on who finishes on a full stroke. They come neck and neck down the final 5.
Last few metres, is it going to be 1 or is it going to be 2? It's going to be 1, and second is George Emmons. Great finish from the Rushmore swimmer, who wasn't in the frame with about 5 to go, but managed to find something from somewhere in the last few metres. to claim second place. The winner, 55.35. Here's the winning time for Luke Howdle of the City of Sheffield. And Luke, 55.35, a new personal best for him by 15/100ths of a second. On to heat number 6. And now we have got some of the big names, or potentially big names, in the lineup. Reece Dunn of Plymouth in 1, Liam Selby, Stockport 2, John Blasinski of Nottingham Leander in 3, Thomas Laxton of Loughborough in 4, Sean Campsey of Stirling Swim in 5, might be them making the racket out behind us, Joe Roebuck of Loughborough University in 6, Michael Gunning of London Aquatics in 7, and Jake Tyson of Team Ipswich in lane number 8. What a flying start by Liam Selby in 2.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. 24.60, that's the quickest at the halfway stage we've seen this morning. We're also very interested to see how Joe Roebuck does from Loughborough University. He retired after the 2014 Commonwealth Games, now making a comeback. Purely wants to make a comeback for that 4x1 medley team.
Couldn't stay away from the swimming, but he's going to have to try and work very, very hard to catch Liam Selby. Might just be fading just a little bit. And lane 5, Sean Campsey, possibly first to the wall. He is 53.45. Sean Campsey, fastest of the morning so far. Second place going to Joe Roebuck. So he's still got the old fibres working very well. The old racing fibres are working to great effect for him with a 53.72, and Thomas Laxton in third place, both from Loughborough. His time 53.78. Our early leader Liam Selby, after that flying first 50, couldn't quite back it up over the second 50 and finished in 4th place.
Just seeing the man on the screen, James Guy.
Now, how does he approach this?
With no pressure, very relaxed and determined to get into a centre lane tonight.
Got Adam Barrett right beside him, so he's got a good measure. And these two will want to slug it out. I'm sure that neither wants to give any quarter to the other. They may not have it all their own way, of course. They might find other people who want to get in the mix, like Sam Horrocks, for example, in lane number 6. But it's a very powerful start by Adam Barrett in lane 4.
It is also going well. It is James Guy. James Guy's got a higher stroke rate than Adam Barrett. It's just a born racer. He just has to win everything. And he is touching first. 24.58, so that is the quickest time so far at the halfway stage.
Look at it go.
You expect him to come back very, very quick because he has that background of the 400 metres freestyle. Also, he's very, very good at 200 fly, but he's absolutely flying, looking left and right. Now he's backing off.
Well, yeah, he's backing off just a little bit, saving something in his cheeky. He looked to his left there. That was rather akin to a South African swimmer we've seen a few times. Yeah. Actually looking to his left then and going, all right, I've got your measure. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to take this. And he took it quite comfortably in the end. I don't think I've ever seen a British swimmer do that. James Guy, of course, has to be different. And, yeah, but I wonder whether when we get back to the studio we can see that replay later on. The cheeky look from James Guy to his left as he came into the wall. Wasn't focused on the wall, was focused on the man to his left-hand side, just to make sure there was a bit of room for manoeuvre, and there was plenty in the end. Cheeky boy.
Looked over at the coaches from Millfield, Ewan Dale and Joel Fink, just got a smile on their face. They know this guy's the real deal.
He certainly is. Right, on to the... That's maybe that. That's very funny. 100 butterfly heat number 8. Anthony James now. What's Anthony got in the locker? Up against Braxton Tim in 5, Craig Bowen in 3, and Mark Zoranek, who pulled out of an earlier heat, so he could give his all to the 100 butterfly.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity. I've already mentioned it already. There's obviously the consideration time for the Olympic Games. It's quick. It's very quick. It's going to 51.24, but also there's the possibility of a medley relay. So these swimmers all want to put their eggs in this basket.
25 metres to go, and it is Anthony James just about. Braxton Tim trying to come back at him. Adam Taylor trying to come back at him. Anthony James just out in front. Braxton Tim will follow him in, and in lane 2, Mark Zoranek's having a decent swim as well. But it will be Anthony James who will get there by half a body length from Braxton Tim. Third is Mark Zoranek. And fourth, Adam Taylor. Winning time for Anthony James is 53 seconds dead.
Anthony James has been around for a while. He was on the Olympic team in 2012. See him normally tend to go out quite quickly, but he's actually looked very, very strong down the last 50.
So Anthony James wins that. It's not the fastest time in the morning. That's James Guy's. And I can tell you, James Guy, Anthony James, Adam Barrett, Braxton Tim, Sean Campsey, Mark Zoranek, Cameron Brodie and Joe Roebuck have all made it through to the final, but the fastest time by over half a second is James Guy's, and hopefully we'll see that cheeky look to the left when we go back to the studio, because I want to see that again. Only one person I would know would do that, and that's a South African who's pretty good at butterfly, and it isn't James Guy.
So there's a tough consideration time for this 100 metres butterfly of a time of 51.24. That's faster than Michael Rock's British record. James Guy, incredible in the 400 metres freestyle. Looked amazing here this morning.
100 fly is obviously his thing as well. He's half a second clear of the rest of the field. He looks like there's no stopping him at the moment.
Sorry, just going to stop you there. Have a look at this. He's just having a little cheeky look. He's playing cat and mouse there with the rest of the field. That's some talent to be able to do that and qualify first into the final.
So relaxed. It seemed like he wasn't worried at all. He's obviously got the back end speed from the 400 metre training. You know, the endurance isn't a problem. But he doesn't even look out of breath there. He doesn't even look like he was fazed by that. And the fly, whatever amount of distance you're doing, is a tough event. And it probably really surprised the rest of the field. I mean, you've got the likes of Anthony James, who's obviously a real experienced one in this race. We've also got the likes of Joe Roebuck, who's gone from the 200 now to the 100. It's a real experienced field. And yet he's beaten them all quite easily.
Well, James Guy there took that by over half a second ahead of Anthony James, who did qualify for the last Olympics. He made that look so easy. So that's definitely a final that's going to be worth watching later on. As you said, there's 5 or 6 swimmers within the mix. Now, it is going to be a big ask to get that 51.24. Do you reckon James Guy can do it and add to that kind of qualifying time that he did in the 400?
Well, why not? We were discussing this up in commentary earlier, that it's not always about just having one race, it's about having two. Be greedy. They want to have as many swims as possible, and James Guy could possibly do that.
So we are now going to head to the women's 200 metres backstroke.
Yeah, it's not the strongest event at the moment in British swimming. Got to be absolutely honest about this. We'll have 6 heats, and that's the first of them. But this is, of course, the chance for some new names to shine, some new names to do big personal bests and improve on their recent times. And there might just be somebody, like we saw with Chloe Davis the other day, who might say, look, it's my time, and I'm going to put my hand up.
Yeah, 100%. And you always see it, we've spoken about it a lot already, that every 4-year cycle, somebody will get onto the Olympic team that was certainly not on the radar 12 months previous. So it's exciting times.
I'm just laughing because up on the screen I've got Joe Roebuck in the women's 200 backstroke. I'm not sure he's eligible for that.
No, I don't think he is.
I'm sure that will change, but I'll give you the proper lineup, which is Daisy Platt of City of Leicester in 1, Kelly Small of Portsmouth in 2, Emma Rosen of Stockport Metro in 3, Athena Clayson, fastest entry time of this field in 4, Bethany Saunders of City of Peterborough at 5, Catherine Henderson of Nova Centurion in 6, Rachel Wellings, who's now been put on the board properly, not Joe Roebuck in lane 7, and Emily Osborne of Devonshire. It might be quite interesting if he was doing the women's 200 backstroke.
Rachel Wellings from City of Peterborough is going well in lane number 7. You see it on the screen, just neck length ahead. He's just turned first, 31.94, just over a tenth ahead of Catherine Henderson from Nova Centurion, 1 lane up from her. So it's these two swimmers in 6 and 7 are taking it out in the first 75 metres.
Again, an event that's kind of, from a British point of view, not really progressed that much since the Sarah Price days, back in the Athens era. And we've obviously had Georgia mainly on the 100, more than 200, Gemma Spofforth rather on the 100 and the 200.
Yeah, you had an era around that 2006, 2007, 2008 stage where Gemma Spoffhoff and Lizzie Simmons really took this event to the next level. And then it kind of, repeated a little bit. Lizzie Simmons has always been a world-class athlete, but can she deliver on the international stage? She did that in 2012 and narrowly missed a medal by coming fourth. We haven't seen her much the last 4 years, but she looked good on the 100 metres on day 2, so let's see how she is coming into this event.
Yeah, she'll be coming up later and dominating this at the moment by swimming out very fast, over 150 by her standards. Rachel Wellings is leading. Emma Rosen in second for Stockport Metro and Catherine Henderson in third. The 1 and 2 separated by several lanes, but not separated by much in terms of time. Last 25 for the swimmer with the lime green outfit. In lane 3, Emma Rosen, and she's probably just about going to take this for Stockport Metro. Nice stroke. He's worked hard on that because James Gullard was a great backstroker from Stockport, and she's following in his wake with a 2:18.31, and that's a nice comfortable start for the Stockport Metro swimmer who's done an improvement. We have a DQ. Athena Clayson is not going to get a time registered because she's been disqualified, but 2:18.31 for Emma is over a second personal best.
Another Stockport Metro swimmer improving on their entry time. And that momentum shift, it can happen within clubs. And you get a couple of big hitters. You certainly see it with somebody like the City of Sheffield. Probably didn't have the start they wanted to in the opening 2 days, but then somebody like Max Litchfield can come along, light it up. It gives everybody a lift. Everybody wants to emulate the success of their teammates, and it really just starts to drag the rest of the club on. So you're seeing that this morning at Stockport Metro, a lot of improvements on their entry times.
Just for the uninitiated, why would you be disqualified on a 200 backstroke?
Lots of different reasons, but could have gone past 15 metres off the start or any of the turns. Could have probably been, as soon as they go onto the front, as long as they're still doing a stroke, they can kick. But if they've finished their stroke and they're kicking into the wall, you can get disqualified for that as well.
Thank you, Coach. Did some coaching at Derby for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, not for long.
No, didn't like it.
I just don't think I was very good at it.
At least that's honest. There's a few coaches around who think they're really good. Actually, they're not very good, but unless you're honest enough to fess up and move on to other things.
No, a lot of swimmers, and it's most, all the swimmers here have a huge knowledge of the sport. It's how you portray that and how you get that to come across out of your mind into somebody else's mind and implement what you're trying to do to them. And somebody like Melanie Marshall has done that really, really well at the City of Derby. She's taken all her knowledge and experience and passing it on to the younger swimmers and just creating an atmosphere of success. And she has gone from strength to strength.
Give me the 1 to 8 on this. Kiara Barber of Hillingdon in 1, Eleanor Mitchell of London Aquatics in 2, Hannah Jones of Stockport Metro in 3, Harriet Perfect of Poole in 4, 5 is Madeline Dyer of City of Sheffield, 6 Alexandra Waller of the Heart of Midlothian, Rachel Anderson Millfield in lane 7, and Erin Bryce of City of Newport in lane number 8.
It is Erin Bryce from City of Newport that's turning first in lane number 8. But it's very, very tight in the rest of the lanes as we come into 15 metres to go, the opening 100 metres. And we can't see who's going to be out there in the lead. It's come under the final 5 metres. It looks like it's going to be Erin Bryce in lane number 8. It is turning 66.26. Great underwater from the Stockport Metro swimmer in lane number 3, Hannah Jones.
Erin Bryce leading from second place, Harriet Perfect, from Hannah Jones, and third place to Eleanor Mitchell. This will probably change around just a little bit over the next 65 metres before they head back to home. And looking at the spread, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8, pretty much in a line. Madeline Dyer is going to turn marginally first ahead of Harriet Perfect. Third place to Erin Bryce, and fourth is Hannah Jones.
Yeah, great third 50 from Madeline Dyer, City of Sheffield, really propelling herself into the front with 50 metres to go. Hanging in there is Hannah Jones from Stockport Metro, and Harriet Perfect also coming strong down this final 15 metres from Poole. It's going to look like it is Harriet Perfect just edging out in front.
Yeah. Let's see if she has the perfect finish. That's the question. Yeah, it was all right, actually. Not bad. 2:17.95 for Harriet. And that's a decent time for her. Not quite a personal best. Not quite the perfect swim. 2:17.95 compared to 2:19.08 for Hannah Jones. And third place go to Kiara Barber. They don't seem to have registered a time for Rachel Anderson. So that's not come up on the board yet. Maybe didn't quite hit the touchpad hard enough. So we'll just wait for the time's still running on. So there's been a little slight malfunction on the timing device, which might delay things a bit here. Rachel Anderson looking up, going, well, I know I've done the race. Can you give me a time, please?
Yeah, sometimes you get these technicalities. I suppose electric and water just
not supposed to go together, are they?
No, not really.
Yeah, we might have a little delay. We'll wait for that backup time. They can't obviously continue until we have that time. Here we go, 2:19.28. So she finished fourth place, 2:19.28. The time clock, though, is still running on. So until it gets reset, we cannot start the next race. 2:17.95, by the way, was the winning time for Harriet Perfect. Madeline Dyer in second and Hannah Jones in third. So we have confirmation, there you go, of the winning time for Harriet Perfect of Poole. Fastest of the two heats so far. As we move on to heat number 3 of the 200 backstroke for women. And in lane order, all of them in place. Lane 1, Eleanor Dolan of Loughborough. 2, Anna Main of Woking. 3, Bethany Newton of Street. East Kilbride, Jennifer King goes in 4. Lily Bosley of Nova Centurion 5. Georgia Darwin, Newcastle 6. Emily Cutler of Mount Kelly in 7. And Isabel Jones of Millfield in lane number 8. This is heat number 3.
They're popping up all in a line at the 15 metres, and actually the 25 metres pretty much almost all separated by a few inches, but now streaking ahead the swimmer in lane number 5, Lily Bosley from Nova Centurion. Seen her swim already this week, had a fantastic event on day 1, and she's showing that form into day number 4, turning first in 31.41. Also going well in lane number 6, Georgia Darwin from Newcastle, just half a second behind, but looks like she's already clawed back that deficit as we're coming down to the final 15 of the first 100 metres of the 200 metres backstroke. Also going well in lane number 1, Eleanor Dolan, and Anna Main's back in the pool again.
All of these divers, all these swimmers, apart from one, have a 2:16 entry time. So Eleanor Dolan right through to Emily Cutler in 7 have 2:16s. Isabel Jones just outside it in 2:17. Georgia Darwin of Newcastle having a really impressive swim at this stage, but we're not at three-quarter stage yet, and they are starting to come back towards her. Lily Bosley of Nova Centurion and Jennifer King. So the lead probably at 150 will still be just about held by Georgia Darwin, but it's going to be margin. It's a fantastic third 50 by Jennifer King, who's moved right alongside her.
Yes, Justin has 1/100 of a second separating Georgia Darwin from Jennifer King, and the swimmer in lane number 4 from East Kilbride. Jennifer King has that higher stroke rate than the rest of the swimmers, and she has that momentum going into that final turn, and she's come off that and now driving down the 450. Now she's going into the lead, and she's going to take this heat number 3, the women's 200 metres backstroke.
How many in the 2:15 range can we get here? We're certainly going to get, I thought we were going to get one, but Jennifer King just slipping outside it. 2:16.52 is the winning time for Jennifer King, so in the 2:16 range she stays. Second place to Georgia Darwin, and third to Isabel Jones, so she's 2:18.35. Not particularly quick heat that overall, sadly, so there'll be a lot of encouragement for those yet to come in the remaining heats in 5, 6 and 7. And indeed 4, which comes up next of the 100 backstroke. And here comes the lineup for it. Anna Newlands of Stockport Metro in 1. Megan Briggs, and the fastest entry time coming from Brittany Horton of City of Birmingham. Ellesmere College. By the way, in case you weren't listening yesterday, Ellesmere College, I did correct my mistake of a couple of days ago. No Ellesmere Port and all that kind of stuff. I know you're Ellesmere College, and famous people amongst Bill Beaumont, who has attended that school in the years gone by.
Just waiting for the swimmers to exit the pool before the next heat jump in. Using these new wedges now that you can see on the blocks. You can't see from the at camera angle, but you see them firmly planted onto the plate of the block. The straps go into the water, and there's a black wedge.
We shouldn't talk about food at this time.
With the wedge, almost similar to the starting block with the wedge on the track start. It just gives you that little bit more purchase to push off. Eradicates any slipping off the block. These pads can get slippy. That's when mistakes can happen.
Cheese and chive. Anna Newlands of Stockport Metro in lane 1. 2, Megan Briggs of Warrender. 3, Charlotte Evans, Loughborough. City of Birmingham represented by Brittany Horton in 4. Ellesmere College, Chloe Golding in 5. Chantel Austin of Bath in 6. Jaeger Turner of City of Salford in lane 7. And Rebecca Sherwin of Team Ipswich in 8. They finished the first 50, and we're looking towards the centre lanes for 1 and a joint second.
Yeah, Brittany Horton from City of Birmingham is turning first. She's the fastest swimmer on paper in this heat. In the fastest lane, lane number 4. Also going very well is Charlotte Evans in lane number 3 from Loughborough University. Was joint second at the 50-metre stage, but she's going to be a clear leader at the halfway stage, closely followed by Brittany Horton and Chloe Golding.
But this is only halfway, and there's still plenty to go, and there's nobody who's really ripping the field up yet. Charlotte Evans has the lead, but it may be only for a little while, because Chloe Golding had a very good turn there, and coming right back into both of their slipstreams is Brittany Horton in lane 4.
Yeah, certainly the best turn out of the lot was Chloe Golding, lane number 5, Ellesmere College. I know they spend a lot of time on technique. It's very heavily focused on their training, is getting the swimmers to be technically perfect. And then you can add the strength, and you can add the speed and the endurance a lot later on. It's really hard to get that technique down and grinded into the swimmers. And it is now Brittany Horton, fast third 50, turning just marginally first, three tenths ahead of second and third.
Yeah, nothing to choose between 1, 2 and 3. It's going to be those 3 who are going to be in the mix, you would think, unless somebody comes with a ripping finish, but it's going to be lane number 4. It looks like Brittany Horton has taken control of this race and is going to power her way to the wall, unless Chloe Golding can find a second or third wind. So Brittany Horton has done a 2:10, but she's going to be outside that today. 2:13.68 for Brittany Horton. Second place to Chloe Golding, 2:14.09. So not much between 1 and 2 in the end. Third place going to Charlotte Evans, 2:15.50. So that is the fastest heat so far in the women's 200 back.
Yeah, quite a few seconds down on their entry time. Brittany Horton did take that heat, 2:13.68. Entry time of 2:10.00. So you have to wait and see if that's good enough to get into the senior final. But that is the quickest so far this morning.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite good enough, do you? I think go a little bit quicker than that, especially with another couple of heats to go. Then we're going to get into the 208s, 209s perhaps before too long.
There's certainly an opportunity here for some of these swimmers to really step up and to make, they'll obviously all be targeting to make some kind of final, whether you're a junior or a Target Tokyo. But it'd be really good if actually some of the juniors get into the Target Tokyo and the Target Tokyo get into the senior finals, just to give them that experience of stepping up and racing older swimmers and seeing how it's done, seeing that experience, the likes of Lizzie Simmons and Jessica Fuller-Love, all these different swimmers, and watching how they cope with the pressure.
Just wondering if there's a slight distraction for lane 1, because unlike the first few days in Glasgow here. There is some sun coming through the roof of the Tollcross pool, and it's shining directly on lane number 1. On backstroke, of course, you're looking straight into it, so hopefully it's not affecting Eleanor Southard too much of Ellesmere College. And the ball win of City of Derby in 2. Chloe Hannam of Peterborough in 4. Jessica Fullerlove of Manchester in 4. Rosie Rudin of Nova Centura in 5. Tasmin Pugh, Ellesmere College again in 6. Emma Saunders, City of Manchester in 7. And Chelsea Lawson in 8. Just mentioning there, the sun actually shining on lane 1. What kind of effect that might have on the swimmer in lane 1?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is actually into her eye line. We'll have to take an eye out on that. But it can affect you if you're swimming into the sun. Lots of these swimmers do track the ceiling, but what a great swim in lane number 4 from Jessica Fullerlove. Already a body length ahead at the halfway stage, being being tracked by Chloe Hannon, City of Peterborough in lane number 3. She turns in 2nd. Rosie Rudin in lane number 5 is 3rd. Tasmin Pugh again from Ellesmere College. Just keep an eye out on their technique and their skills. Rosie Rudin didn't have a great 400 medley on day 1, so she's looking to bounce back and get a little bit more confidence into the system, and certainly is doing okay in the heat number 5. But going very well is Chloe Hannon down this 3rd 50. Looks like she's just going to be edged out, and she is just edged out by Jessica Fullerlove. Jessica Fullerlove, real strong first 100 metres.
The interesting thing is there is 3 seconds between them on their personal bests, so either Chloe's going particularly quickly or Jessica's going very slowly. I think it's probably the former, that Chloe's going to be looking at something maybe approaching a 2:10 here, maybe that.
Yeah, but look at Rosie Rudin and Tasmin Pugh storming back down this last 50. Jessica Fullerlove's going to make sure she gets her hand on the wall, at least in 2nd place here.
2:11.74 the winning time for Chloe Hannon. Jessica Fullerlove 2:13, that's 3 seconds outside her personal best. In 2nd, Rosie Rudin in 3rd, and Tasmin Pugh in 4th. So that winning time 2:11.74. So maybe there is hope for the swimmers in the previous heat, but I think there'll be 4 in that particular heat who will be thinking about progression to the senior final later on today. Chloe 2:11.74 winning that very comfortably in the end from Jessica Fullerlove by a 1.5 seconds. And much closer between Fullerlove, Rosie Rudin and Tasmin Pugh in 4th.
It does look like it's going to be well judged, but that's the risk you run when you're in the first of the faster heats. You've got to put that marker down, and if you think you're swimming comfortably and the next 2 heats really step it up and you're edged out of the final, there's nothing you can do about it.
So everybody knows the target time is going to be probably 2:11 low here to make absolutely certain you're in there. And there's a lot of people in this field are quite comfortably capable of doing that. Natasha Houghton, the University of Stirling, will be in 1. Lauren Quigley back for more for Stockport Metro in 2. Kathleen Dawson of Warrington will go in 3. Lizzie Simmons, now at Bath University, has been for a while. Lane number 4, Georgia Homan in 5. Kirsty Simpson, City of Aberdeen in 6. And Sophie Hobber of City of Leeds will go in lane 8. Lauren Quigley, however, will not go in lane number 2. She has scratched. So 7 go to start. And Lizzie Simmons is the fastest in this field and has been for some considerable time.
Yeah, she has been around a long time. And she had a good 100. She had a good 100 on day 1. She would have liked to. Certainly, a lot of swimmers would like to have gone a little bit quicker. Was outside that consideration time, but she started to look like she's getting back to some kind of her best. And we spoke a lot about her before, but when she gets tense and when she gets stressed, she starts to tie up and she tries too hard. And it's a funny thing to say, well, I try too hard, but when you do really tense up and you do put a lot of pressure on you, that's when you start to kind of go into yourself and it just doesn't flow. And as you can see now, it just looks so easy, it's effortless. It's because she's relaxed, because she knows she's swimming okay, and she's edging up out in the front. She's got that body length ahead, and she can now get back into a stroke rate work her turns, and now look forward to finishing this race off, getting back to the hotel and resting up, because it's a huge time that she's got to do tonight. She's not been close to that for a number of years, 2:8.21, so she's got a big job to do tonight. She's got to reserve a lot of energy, but it'll be interesting to see how Georgia Homan does in lane number 5. Had a real bad 100 metres on day 1, missed out onto the final. Her better event is the 200 metres. She trains out in Florida, and she is going well in lane number 5, but it still is going to be Lizzie Simmons in lane number 4, just over half a second ahead.
Third place to Emma Day, and fourth is Kirsty Simpson. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think the 1 and 2 is pretty nailed on now. So the 1 is, again, Lizzie does this. She goes very close to that lane rope. Still, after all these years, she edges across that lane rope. I get a little bit concerned for her. She's straightening up a bit now, and will take this relatively comfortably. She can probably ease off a little bit if she wants to, and she will. Goes in 2:11.58, so I did say 2:11 high, 2:11 mid will be fine. She's there comfortably. Georgia Homan 2:13.99, not rapid, I'm afraid. 3 is Emma Day. I was expecting a little bit more from that heat, to be honest, but Lizzie Simmons has done what she had to do.
Now you can see there, you can see Kathleen Dawson Kathleen had a great 100 earlier on in the week. It looked like it certainly should have been comfortable for Lizzie. It's been 2.6 in the past. You see her now coming under the backstroke flags. Just watch how she spots this wall perfectly, lunges back, full stroke, job done.
Give you the qualifiers in just a moment after we have seen the 200 backstroke result, the final one, up on the screen, and we'll give you the result. Wait for the confirmation of the top 8 who will progress to the 200 backstroke final later on today. Here we go. Lizzie Simmons, Chloe Hannon, Georgia Homan, Jessica Fullerlove, Rosie Rudin, Brittany Horton, Tasmin Pugh, and Chloe Golding making it through. Charlotte Evans and Emma Day just missing out.
So we saw Elizabeth Simmons there do the fastest time this morning. 2-time Olympian. She has that sights of 2:08 in her mind for that consideration time. What are you thinking? How does she look then in the heats?
Well, she's looking comfortable at the moment. She's posted a good time for the 100 metres backstroke earlier on in the week where she got a silver, so she's got the speed. It's whether she's got the endurance now to hold on and really do a great swim. As we can see there, she's got a very relaxed stroke. She didn't look like she was overdoing it in that final 50 metres. Just catching the water, really feeling for that stroke, and backstroke, if you can get that water hold, you can really make some damage and make some difference. And she really does look like the strongest competitor to take the gold. We know she's a favourite to win. It's whether she can do that time of 2:08.21 to qualify. She was the British champion last year, and in a time of 2:08.38. So we know that over the past year she's starting to find her form again. We know she kind of went off the boil for a few years, but she's back in form and she's ready to go.
And we next have the men's 1500 metres freestyle.
And there might be a while before we get to the very best here. We have got a lot of strength in this, and there will be 8 in the first. Now, what tends to happen in the 1500 free, in my experience in years gone by, we see some big breakout swims in the 1500 freestyle. And people are not expecting, you might start with 16 minutes, they get down to 15:30s, 15:20s, 15:15. So we are expecting some large personal bests here.
Yeah, certainly are. And there'll be one swim that I want to keep an eye on later on in the procedure this morning. Tim Shuttleworth at Loughborough University had a massive PB on the
they reckon he can go
400.
15. They reckon he can go 15, you know, here, which means he's got 15 seconds off his personal best to do that. But the way he looked the other day, that could be the case. Thomas Milburn of Cockermouth will go in 1. Is going in 1. Cameron Croot of Swansea Aquatics in 2. Ashley Hogg of City of Manchester Aquatics in 3. Jeffrey Butler of Edinburgh University in 4. Callum Reid Warrender in 5. Max Murphy of City of Milton Keynes in 6. Richard Laird of East Kilbride in 7. And Nathan Wells from West Norfolk in lane number 8. If you want to get in touch with us during the 1500s, at Swimmer Ross or at Bob Ballard Sport. We'll try and answer any of your questions because we've got a good 45 minutes or more of swimming here to go through. And by the way, I'm going to read this verbatim, Ross Davenport, from Fran Baldwin. As someone who was coached by Ross, just want to confirm he was a fab coach during his time at Derby. How about that?
Yeah, I'm 20 quid lighter now.
That's what it costs these days, isn't it?
I love this event. This event is, for me, one of the highlights in the programme. Lots of people think, oh, 1500, boring. But actually, when you get into it and you start to analyse, the split times and you see the different tactics that people use, and I think tomorrow night, the final is going to be a real ding-dong. You've got some great swimmers in there that can really produce world-class times, and it's going to be it's going to be battling each other and blows with each other. It's just going to be fantastic to watch and to witness.
So 4 heats of the 1500 freestyle. Just to let you know what we're going to see later on in terms of the names. Dan Fogg, who these days we kind of more associate with 10K, but he has been under 15 minutes in the 1500 freestyle. He'll go in heat number 3 alongside the likes of Daniel Jervis and Jay Lediot and Jack Burnell, another open water swimmer, going in heat number 3. And in 4, Stephen Milne, who has the fastest entry time, 14:55.17. Now the time they've got to get for Olympic qualification is right on that. 14:55.11 is what it's going to take to be considered for Olympic selection. So they won't be going that time this morning, I doubt. They'll be looking for tonight, but remember, top 8. And again, it's an event where there's a lot of similar times in Great Britain right now. There's about half a dozen, maybe a bit more, swimmers are in and around that 15-minute mark.
Yeah, there is, and I think you'll see tonight the potential of 4, 5, probably not 6, but go under the 15-minute barrier mark tomorrow night. And they're going to have to swim quick this morning. As we mentioned, there's a lot of swimmers. They can't hang around because, like we said, if you've got hopes of going to Rio, you've got to be in that senior final. So just 1% off in a 1500 can make a massive difference.
Looking at the lineup here, and we've got Cameron Croot in lane number 2, who turned first last time, turns first this time with a 300 mark, 3:07.85. Jeffrey Butler of Edinburgh in second place, and third to Ashley Hogg of City of Manchester Aquatics. This, of course, is where the race starts to open out. If somebody's feeling a bit grog today, not feeling at their best, this is where we'll see it straight away, because they would just drop further and further off the pace. And I'm afraid that looks to be the situation for Callum Reid in lane number 5, just finding it tough going today.
Yeah, it is, but there's, like I said, there's so many different tactics and how you want to swim this. You look back, it's a long time ago now, but in 2002 David Davis did his first 1500 at the Commonwealth Games, and his tactics was to settle in for the first 500 and then build the next 500 and then sprint the last 500, and he dropped a massive amount of time doing it that way. Then 2 years later in the Olympic Games, when there's a head-to-head race, it's all about racing, and it was almost like a controlled, well, it wasn't a sprint, but it was a real hard effort from the off. So there's different ways of doing it. Some people back end it, some people go and split up in 500s, some people split up in 400s, some people go to 1,000 and then really kick in for the last 400. So there's different ways of doing it. It's how, whatever suits you best. Somebody like Daniel Jervis we see later, his last 500 is quicker than his first 500. So it's how you want to do it.
Talking about big drop downs in the 1500, we often see that at trials. Cameron Croot has a 16:09 entry time, and the way things are looking, he's going to take a sizable chunk of that right now anyway, the way things are looking. And the person who's going with him is Jeffrey Butler in lane number 4, and Butler now is coming right alongside. They are separated by 2 lanes, so they will be able to see each other because there's clear water between them. But Cameron Croot has a 16:09 entry time, and keep going at this rep, he'll be well inside 16 minutes.
Yeah, he will do. First 500 is 5:17. So I'm going to keep this going. He was repping around about 63 highs, 64 lows. So he's got another 1,000 meters to go. 40 lengths of the local baths, 20 here.
Local baths.
Depends what your local bath is, isn't it? Depends if it's 50 metre or 25 metre, but there's 19 lengths of this pool, this Olympic size pool.
You can take the boy out of the East Midlands, but you can't take the East Midlands out of the boy, can you? Local baths.
Why would you want to?
Well, quite. Well, you're here, so we have taken you out, kind of, haven't we? As we watch Cameron Croot continue to just about dominate the 1500 freestyle, but the gap is now closing. It's marginal, hardly anything at all as they go into the 600 turn. Cameron Croot just in front. We are talking about just in front. It's only a third of a second now separating him and Jeffrey Butler. Then Max Murphy in third place. Fourth at the moment is Richard Laird, and fifth Nathan Wells. Just waiting to see whether possibly we can see a bit of a comeback in lane number 5 from Callum Reid, but I'm afraid he's pretty much cast adrift. But now alongside Ashley Hogg is finding the going a bit too tough.
That last 100 was 64.2, so they've gone from 63 high to 64.2, so very, very consistent. But now it is the swimmer in lane number 4, Jeffrey Butler, that looks like he's taken over the lead, and he has done. There's only 8 100s separating at the last turn.
Well, nobody in this field has gone sub 16 before today. There'll be at least 2 who will have their eyes on that little minor prize. Obviously 15 minutes is where they want to be heading. 16 is nowhere in world terms, but just to break those little barriers down, and still just about holding on. It's only a quarter of a second now between Cameron Croot and Jeffrey Butler. We thought Butler was going to take over that race, didn't we, for a while, but Cameron Croot has just held him off for the time being. It might be the inevitable is going to take place fairly soon, that Jeffrey Butler overtakes him, but those two are well clear. There's a lot of open water between second and third, and that third place occupied by Richard Laird in lane number 7, but I reckon the gap between second and third is around about 10 meters now.
Yeah, 3 100ths of a second separating Cameron Croot from Jeffrey Butler. Jeffrey Butler had taken in the lead, but then Cameron Croot responded. It's interesting to see this, is that Jeffrey Butler gets closer as he goes away from us, and then Cameron Croot responds, and then has a fast 50, and then he gets around about 0.2 ahead. It'll be interesting to see. So there's 3 100s separating the swimmers at the last turn, and then now is 0.2. So this is how it works. So now Jeffrey will then ease up, or certainly pick it up, and they'll get neck and neck, and then Cameron Croot gets 0.2 ahead.
So at the moment on course 4, what do we reckon? Yeah, still under the 16-minute mark, which is I say what they're looking for. But now all of a sudden Cameron Croot has gone to his legs, and I think he's going to be pulling away a little bit here at the turn. The gap was only a couple of tenths just now. It's actually still about the same. It looked like he'd gone to his legs and starting to pull away, but gap is still very tight between the two of them. However, the racing behind is little clumps of different races going on between them, and still more or less locked together in lanes 2 and 4. Cameron Croot and Jeffrey Butler. Now can Butler take over here? No, he's not going to. Croot visibly is just ahead. There won't be much on the touch though. Very tight. How tight? 2100s tight it is between Cameron Croot in first and Jeffrey Butler in second. Richard Laird in third. Nathan Wells 4, 5 is Callum Reid. They've broken the back of this race. They're well over halfway now. And next time they come back towards our end, it will be the 2/3 mark. It will be 1,000 meters at the next time they return to our end of the pool. So the gap now is 12 100ths. It's an interesting twist and turn here. Every time they come up the pool, about 12. Come back is about 2. And really not making any impression in terms of breaking each other at this stage. Cameron Crute, every time you think that, I'm just going to see Jeffrey Butler get into first place, he doesn't. Cameron Crute just holding on, and the gap is negligible, if indeed there is a gap at the turn. They're going together. They're going 14 100ths apart. Cameron Crute hits the 1,000 meter mark in 10:42.12. Second place to Jeffrey Butler, 10:42.26, and then the rest, Richard Laird in third, Nathan Wells in 4, Callum Reid in 5, and 6 is Thomas Milburn of Cockermouth.
So the last 3 100s have been 65.2, 65.2, 65.4. So incredibly consistent all the way through this 1500. And 19 100ths of a second separate them at that turn. Been literally neck and neck the whole way through.
Yeah, you could pretty much put a piece of string right across the pool and they would be in line. I think just, well, let's say slightly bigger lead, but only marginally so for Cameron Crute at this turn. Yeah, marginally by 3 100ths of a second. That's how marginal that is. Crute from Jeffrey Butler, 4:11.63, plays 11:47. So I think I said 3, I'm at 11, and two of them going side by side. Just to see whether anybody's making a move behind them. Richard Laird is probably not quite as far back as he was. He's claimed third place, and nobody's putting any pressure on him for third. But 1 and 2, you wouldn't want to call. They go over absolutely together. Now the gap is 4 100ths of a second.
Yes, and then there must be like a pump in lane number 5 as we go away. He's kind of pushing him, and he's getting an extra 0.1. It's just every single turn he catches up, and then Cameron Crute kind of extends his lead a little bit, and then Jeffrey Butler catches up. But it's not the way that they're looking and the way they're breathing. So it's interesting to work it out. But the last 100 was 65.5. So again, very tight. This is a bigger lead.
Well, yeah, it's big. It's a quarter of a second, so it is bigger. But maybe that will change when they go down the pool again. And Cameron, I just keep thinking that Cameron Crute looks like he's going to make a break. And do you know what? I'm just looking at Richard Laird. Richard Laird is coming back very strongly in lane number 7. Now, I reckon he was about 10 metres adrift about 200 metres ago, but if anything, he has definitely gone to his legs, and he's starting to catch up the top 2.
Yes, we've been looking at the far side of the pool in lane number 2 and 4, but Richard Laird is making his move. He is 2.2 seconds behind second, and, well, 2.3 seconds behind first. So 8 100ths of a second separating first and second, 2.3 separating first and 7, first and third, that is in lane 7.
But Richard Laird has probably taken about a second out of them there, maybe a bit more. Let's have a look at the turn. Cameron Crute 13:58 and Richard Laird 14:01. So it's 3 seconds now between 1 and 3.
Yeah, he's made a massive move over the last couple of 100s. Down to 65.7, so they're slipping around about 0.1, 0.2 every single 100. That still is consistent. If you look back since the 700 or the 600 metre mark, 60, 64.2, 64.9, 65.2, 65.2, 65.4, 65.5, 65.6, 65.7.
I'll buy it.
Very, very consistent. Very, very consistent. And that's what you need. You need to be consistent all the way through, because as soon as you accelerate, you're using so much more energy to have that change of speed. You need to be consistent all the way through, but you need to be quick as well.
We heard Ross Davenport, the auctioneer there for a moment. He's been selling livestock on the quiet. Last 100, this is going to be, well, how quick is it going to be? 15:03, 15:04, 34 for Cameron Crute, 15:05 Jeffrey Butler. Both are going to, I think, struggle to get under that 16. It's going to be right on the cusp, isn't it?
Yeah, no, not going to get under 16. It's going to be low 16, probably 0, 4, probably going to come back in a minute 1, minute 2, so around about the 16:05 mark.
Cameron Krug desperately wants to win this, and he is winning it, and may have opened up a bit more of an advantage. It's still marginal, still not a great deal, but it is now almost a second. Cameron Krug, probably the biggest lead he's had over Jeffrey Butler throughout the whole course of this race. Jeffrey Butler knows there's only 50 to go though, and he's storming back. Cameron Krug just responding, and look at Richard Laird in lane number 7. He's really going for it. He's not going to quite catch the top 2. They've got just a little bit too much in the tank and in the bank. He might just get second place though. Wow, that was a great finish. Goodness me.
Wow.
16:07.44 for first place. Jeffrey Butler got there. 16:07.52. 8 100ths between 1 and 2. And then Richard Laird, 16:07.66. So we have a situation where 1, 2 and 3 are separated by just 22 100ths of a second in a race that has lasted 16 minutes.
It's been neck and neck the whole way between two swimmers, and then all of a sudden Richard Laird starts to make his move around the 1,000-1,100 metre mark, was miles behind, just eating into that lead, had probably a little bit too much left over the last 200, probably should have gone a little bit earlier, but that's why we do these events. We certainly learn from every single race that these swimmers will be swimming, and they'll judge that a little bit better next time, hopefully.
Well, Richard Laird previously 16:15, so that's an 8-second personal best for Richard Laird. Jeffrey Butler 16:01, so outside his best time, but terrific finish, and yeah, learning how to pace the race, very important in the 1500 freestyle, and looked to have a bit left, didn't he? A bit more than a bit left within that race, and next time round he'll probably swim it slightly differently. Heat number 2 of the 1500 metres freestyle for men, and we have some big hitters coming here. We have Olympians, and somebody who's going to be going to the Olympics for the open water in Jack Burnell in lane number 6 for Loughborough University. Give you the 1 to 8. We have plenty of time to do that. In fact, I'll probably give it to you about 20 times if you wanted it, but I won't. Jack Baister of Loughborough University in number 1. Sam Budd, City of Sheffield, goes in 3. Dan Fogg, open water and 1500 freestyle swimmer at the 2012 Olympic Games. Daniel Jervis of Swansea Aquatics goes in 4. Jay Elliott, again expected to have a big drop down in time. Been swimming very well, getting a lot of appreciation from his coach in Bath, and reckons that Jay's in very good form right now. Jack Burnell of Loughborough in 6. Thomas Howley of Newcastle in 7. And Rhys Worth of Mount Kelly in lane 8. First 100 completed. Daniel Jervis has got the early march.
He certainly does. Had a great 400 metres on day 1. Big lifetime best, 3:50. Won the Target Tokyo final. Also going very well on day number 1 was Jay Elliott, 3:47. Coming 3rd in the senior final, just missing the consideration time. Certainly under the 2% criteria, but he was 3rd place, so he won't be in consideration for selection on the 400. But this is his event that he wants to really get under that consideration time. The difference between the two swimmers in the centre lanes is that Jay has that more natural speed, shall we say. He can do a good 200, can do an excellent 400, and his 1500 is very good, where Daniel Jervis is coming from the other way. He's got very good endurance background, finishes the last third, the last half of the 1500 very, very strong. Been working on that front end speed to try and get out with the rest of the bigger lads, because it doesn't matter. We just saw it in the previous heat. If you go out too slow, it doesn't matter how much you've got left, you can just come short. Sometimes you can get away with it in age group swimming, in junior swimming, but when it gets to the big boys, they'll be gone. So
we reached 250 now, and Daniel Jervis 2:28.16 plays Jay Elliott's 2:28.53. That's the 1-2 at the moment. 3rd place is Dan Fogg. Dan's gone sub 15. Dan's gone sub 15. Both of the Dans have Fogg and Jervis. Jay Elliott right on the cusp of the 15, but looking to me at this stage incredibly strong in lane number 5. He may not be leading, but he's right on the feet, in fact, slightly more advanced than the feet of Daniel Jervis. Dan Fogg 1, 2, 3. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's how it develops throughout the course of the race. But Jay Elliott, to me, just from talking to his coach, Mark Skimming, has been having very good sessions, very good build-up to this event, and certainly in the water, he's looking so powerful on top. It's amazing when you see 1500 metres freestyle swimmers basically gliding on the top, which is pretty much what he's been doing thus far.
But it's all about the efficiency. You know, you can't be looking like you're slogging your way through, because this is just shy of a mile long, this race. You've got to be efficient. But a lot of, if you look at the difference between Daniel Fogg's leg kick, you see that he's hardly kicking at all, opposed to Daniel Jervis has got the biggest leg kick, and then Jay Elliott is just kind of having a 4-beat leg kick, where Daniel Jervis got a 6-beat leg kick, and Dan Fogg is just kicking every 2 for every stroke rate. So it's different how these swimmers are completely different. Daniel Fogg has got no natural raw speed, where Jay has, and Daniel Fogg has the endurance background from the 10k, the 1500. Daniel Jervis is a lot younger swimmer. He's just breaking into the scene.
Oh, 1 and 2 are separated by only 27/100ths of a second as they come back a bit 500 when they get to this end of the pool again. The third of the race completed, and 1, 2, 3 remains the same, though Dan Fogg is just making a little bit of a move in lane number 3 for Loughborough University, trying to come alongside, or pretty much alongside, Daniel Jervis. So I think it's going to be very tight between 1, 2 and 3. It'll be interesting to see what the clock shows us when they do turn this time. I reckon less than a second. Yeah, it should be less than a second. 0.42 between second and third, and only a half a second between 1, 2 and 3 at that turn.
It's interesting when you look at Daniel Fogg. Didn't swim that great on the opening day in the 400, went 3:55. He just went through 400 to his feet in 3:59. So, you know, by the time you've rolled over and you got your feet onto the wall, that's probably another second. So really, he probably went about 3:58, where in the actual 400 race, he only went 3 seconds quicker. And he's got another 1100, well, not now he hasn't, but he had another 1100 metres to go. So you can just see that sometimes when you really try and push it and you really force it, you don't actually go much quicker. You work incredibly more harder, but you don't go much quicker. And he's a lot more relaxed now. He's getting to his stroke rate, and it is, you can see now that it is Jay that's starting to edge ever so slightly in front.
I think he might take the lead on this turn. Well, no, he doesn't quite. 18/100ths again. Going into the wall, he may have been ahead, but when they came back up the pool, wasn't quite there. Now, we do now have 3 pretty much in a line here. Look at that. We've got the top 2 are right side by side, and on the shoulder of Daniel Jervis is Dan Fogg, and I can tell you 4th place at the moment, just in case he starts to make a little move through, is Jack Burnell in lane number 6.
Yeah, we mentioned Jack's already qualified for the games later on this year, but it's that was interesting what you said, because Jay was definitely ahead at the 600 metre mark, but it was actually Daniel Jervis that registered to be ahead on the electronic scoreboard. And that's because if you look at his rotation, and it's something that a lot of young swimmers should look at, is actually getting your rotation onto the wall. If you can speed that up by 0.1, 0.2, you save yourself a massive difference. So they both get...
Same thing's happened again.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing's happened again.
So Jay's slightly ahead, and we're talking marginally ahead. But when it comes on the scoreboard, Daniel Jervis is 3/100ths of ahead. So if you can save 0.1 every single turn on a 1500, it soon mounts up to saving a couple of seconds over the whole race.
Now this should be where Dan Fogg comes strong, because he's not a sprinter. That's been established. He is a 10k swimmer, so the longer the race goes, the stronger he gets, and in theory the others should weaken more. And now 1, 2 and 3 are separated by 19 100ths of a second. 45 plays 64, and you wouldn't want to call this at this stage, would you?
No, Jay Elliott's just now edged in front. Daniel Jervis has been leading majority of the 700s, is now just behind. But let's look again. Jay's definitely ahead.
And
And
this
he is
time
ahead.
does, yeah, but only by 4 100ths though.
Yeah.
Visibly, it looked like he had a slightly bigger advantage than that, but on the touchpad, it only shows 4 100ths of a second, and Dan Fogg is only 11 100ths of a second further back, so it's a negligible lead, although now it's starting to look, certainly on our camera, as if there was going to be a little mini break there, but there isn't, because they're back in the line. 1, 2, 3. As we approach now the 850 mark with 13 more lengths to go.
Daniel Jervis back in front, but another thing to look at, and if we can get the camera angle on this, is not only the rotation onto the wall, which Daniel Jervis is a lot better than Jay Elliott, but when you actually look at the underwater phase, Jay is better than Daniel Jervis. So they've all got the strengths and they've all got to play to that. But if you can almost pick out a perfect turn in this, you'd have Daniel's rotation, Daniel Jervis's rotation, but Jay's underwater phase. So you can see now quite clearly Jay was in the lead. The underwater phase, Jay pops up. So Daniel went into the wall, we're looking on the screen, 0.4 quicker, yet Jay was out of the wall in the first, certainly to 6-7 meters, was out in front.
Well, so Daniel Jervis and Dan Fogg both have sub 15 times. Jay Elliott was the big discovery a couple of seasons ago when he started to do low 15s. And is he going to struggle for the early pace? No, he's still right there, as is Dan Fogg. 1, 2, and 3. Negligible distance between them. In fact, it's a third of a second between 1, 2, and 3. But Jay's just losing a little bit when he comes down on this 50. And Daniel Jervis is starting to increase that stroke rate. Legs are starting to flutter a little bit more, and now Dan Fogg has definitely claimed second place and now has his eyes on overtaking Daniel Jervis.
Yeah, you can quite clearly see the stroke rate has been upped. We are at the 1,000 meter mark, so you can see that some tactics are coming into play. Let's just go to 1,000. Let's just stay with the pack. Let's start to wind it up, just going into that 1,000 meter turn. And you can see now they've been neck and neck the whole way through, but it is now Daniel Jervis that has broke the field and is already a half a body length ahead. He wants one of those centre lanes for tomorrow night's final. He's got to be in the mix. Stephen Milne, who we're going to see later on, he goes out quick. So for Daniel Jervis to get under the consideration time, or certainly be in with a mix of hoping to win this event, he has to stay with the likes of Stephen Milne at the start of the first 750, 800 metres, because he knows he's got the endurance, he knows he's got the work behind him, that he can do this, he just can take off.
Also keeping an eye on Jack Burnell, who is getting closer and closer to Jay Elliott now. Gap between third and fourth is appreciably smaller than it was 100 metres ago. Maybe Jay is struggling just a little bit because Jack Burnell, of course, as we know, a 10k swimmer, will have that endurance, will have maybe a slightly stronger back end than will Jay. Jay now trying to recoup his losses and try and catch up with Dan Fogg, but Dan Fogg's going to find it hard to catch Daniel Jervis in this kind of form.
Yeah, it is, because Daniel Jervis is still continuing to stretch that lead. You look at Jay's stroke, he was so smooth over the first 6, 7, 800 metres. Now he's starting to go a little bit up and down, starting to get a little bit scrabby, where Daniel Jervis is looking incredibly smooth, still using that 6-beat leg kick behind, or just not necessarily 6-beat leg kick, but he's starting to really stretch the field. Daniel Fogg is trying to go with him.
Keep a look and see what the gap is between third and fourth. That could be important when it comes to who's going to make the final tomorrow night. In comes Daniel Jervis at the 1,200 metre stage, and it's 12:11.08 compared to 2:14.03. So nearly a 3-second lead between 1 and 3, and a 2.5-second lead between 2 and 3, and then between 3 and 4, it's about 4 seconds between Jay Elliott and Jack Burnell, who's now actually not making the inroads he was earlier on.
Yeah, we fully expect the top 3 to be going through to tomorrow night's final. We also expect to see Jack Burnell in there in the mix tomorrow night. All depends on what happens in the final heat.
Lead now about 4 seconds between first and second. Jay Elliott maybe has got a second or third win because the gap is no bigger between second and third than it was. And Jack Burnell just a little bit further back off third place. So at the 1300 metre stage, clock stops at 13:12:59 for Dan Jervis. Dan Fogg 13:16:24. So about 3 3/4 seconds between 1 and 2. Then 13:19:45 Jay Elliott, and still about 4 seconds between him and Jack Burnell in fourth place.
Daniel Fogg, we're looking to go under 15:20. About 15:20, 15:21. Daniel Jervis just looking up to see how many lengths he's got. He's got 3 lengths to go, 150 metres. He turned in a 13:12 at the 300, the 200 metre to go mark. So he's going to be looking to go around about 15:17.
Well, Rhys-Worth's going to get lapped here in lane 8. Daniel Jervis is just coming past him on this turn. He'll probably just about be lapped, and this is the last 100. So Rhys-Worth will be swimming his own race, but will be aware there's a swimmer just about to come past him in lane 4, Daniel Jervis. Now that bell maybe will signal a final sprint for Jay Elliott, but he's not going to catch Dan Fogg, and Dan Fogg's most certainly not going to catch Daniel Jervis. And Jack Burnell will have to settle for fourth place the way things are looking. But coming to the conclusion of the race, last 50 metres for Dan Jervis. And what are we looking at here? Around about a 15:45 thereabouts? No, sorry, no, that would be a bit much, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. So he's going to be around about the 15:15, 15:16, depends on how much he gives it the gas down the last 25, but he's looking very, very strong, very, very smooth over the first 1,000 metres, and then really picked it up over the last 500.
So how far outside 15 will he be? He's not going to be that far outside, really, relatively. 15:13:80 for Daniel Jervis. The gap between him and Dan Fogg is about 7.5 seconds. 15:21. 15:23 for Jay, and 15:28 for Jack Burnell. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4. So that winning time again for Daniel Jervis is 15:13:80. That'll be the target time for those coming up in the final heat. Still haven't quite brought everybody in yet, so I'm watching the conclusion of the Daniel Jervis swim. There's still 3 to finish. Sam Budd coming in for Sheffield. In fact, there's 4 to finish. First 4 in, but then the next 4 are coming in now. And poor Rhys-Worth found that a bit tough. I'm going to be absolutely honest. It does happen in the 15. If you're not feeling right on point and right on form, then it can happen that way. And Rhys-Worth has got entry time of 16:01. I'm afraid he's going to be a long, long way outside that today. It's not Rhys's day. But he does finish the race. Here will come. That's going to be agony for him. At the bottom of your picture, there he is, done and dusted. I'm pretty ready for a sleep now, I would think. 15:30 for Daniel Jervis. 15:21:13 Dan Fogg and Jay Elliott. 15:23:90. That's your 1, 2, 3. Jack Burnell will hope to sneak into that final as well. Now, all our interest is on what we might possibly, potentially see from Tim Shuttleworth in lane number 3. We are really hoping for big things from this young man. Looked impressive earlier in the week in the 400. Now, how can he back it up? They are talking about him, if not today, then maybe tomorrow, doing a 15-minute swim. 15:15 is his personal best, and they think he can knock 15 and maybe a little bit more off that time. I'll give you the full list before we talk more about this race, because Stephen Milne is the fastest in the field. Caleb Hughes of Loughborough in there as well. I know there's a lot watching for Caleb out there in Twitter and social media land. Chris Lowther of City of Glasgow goes in 1. Tim Shuttleworth in 3. Stephen Milne, Perth City in 4. Caleb Hughes of Loughborough in 5, Tom Derbyshire of Royal Wolverhampton in 6, Angus Barr of East Kilbride in 7, Nathan Hughes back again for more in lane number 8. Does this man never stop? Hatfield swimmer in lane number 8, and the first 100, it's going to be Tim Shuttleworth, 57.56.
I don't think he does stop. You don't get many 1500 swimmers doing the 200 metres breaststroke, but he is. But no, it's really interesting to see Tim Shuttleworth from Loughborough University. You know, he's probably, you know, we're going to talk him up, and only because we've been hearing the training sets he's been doing. He's been looking really good in training. You can't discount that Stephen Milne is the quickest, is the Scottish record holder on the 1500, 14.53. Had a fantastic year last year. Fantastic the way that he approaches these races. He goes out really, really strong. He's got great technique, great turns. Just watching when he comes up to the 200 metre mark, he uses around about 6, 7, 8 metres underwater off each turn, which is incredibly hard to do. You have to be so disciplined to do that. Every single training session, every single turn that you push off, that you're using all that momentum off the wall.
Stephen Milne just now ahead, and we're talking just about 3/100ths of a second separates him and Tim Shuttleworth at that turn, the 200 metre turn, so obviously still early stages yet. This might be a more competitive race behind though, because Caleb Hughes and Tom Derbyshire having a rare old scrap in 5 and 6, and they're not too far off the pace either, and it may change this lead backwards and forwards, but still with 12/100ths in his advantage is Stephen Milne from Tim Shuttleworth.
It's just going to be such a competitive race tomorrow night. Expect the top 4 from the previous heat to make it through. So I think the top 3 definitely will. And it's a mixture of the swimmers from this heat. See if they can get in the mix tomorrow night. Still Stephen Milne from Perth City, 2:58.88. Not that it makes too much bearing, but it's around about 0.7 slower than the previous heat, but that can all change. We saw Daniel Jervis have a controlled first 1,000 metres and then pick it up towards the last third of the race.
There's a Ross Davenport fan club out there, which I wasn't aware existed until today. David Thorpe has been on Twitter as well to second what was said earlier on from Fran about your coaching skills. So somebody loves you. He's a modest boy. He doesn't know how to react to that, so I'll pick it up from there, shall I? Coming into the 400 mark for Stephen Milne and Tim Shuttleworth, and the 2 behind are really not that far behind. There's 3 not that far behind. Caleb Hughes, Tom Derbyshire and Angus Barr are not a million miles away from the top 2, but Stephen Milne wants to stamp his authority on this race. He's kind of doing that, although Tim Shuttleworth's going with him. Then there's a decent scrap happening behind Caleb Hughes and Tom Derbyshire. And just in their slipstream, a little bit behind their slipstream, is Angus Barr. And then we're talking about Chris Lowther in the outside lane and Nathan Hughes in the outside lane, finding the pace just a little bit too tough.
Currently repping around about the 60 point mark, so 60.3, 60.6. Expect that to probably edge up to around about the low 61s as we kind of settle into the middle body of the 1500 and then pick it up towards the end. The last 100 seems to be a lot quicker, considerably quicker as they sprint to the wall.
Looking very good, very controlled, and knowing exactly what he's doing is Stephen Milne in 4. Yeah, it's right on 15-minute pace at the moment. 5:00.42. Is that going to slip a bit? We'll have to wait and see. And Tim Shuttleworth is on course for a very big PB if he keeps going. If he's repping it just over 60, we're looking at well inside 15:15 time here.
Yeah, he's in a great position as well. In lane 3, next to Stephen Milne. It should be quite controlled for Stephen Milne. He's going to put a marker down to the rest of the field. But Tim Shuttleworth is going to have so much confidence from that 3:48.0 on day 1, coming fourth in the 400 metres, freestyle. That's
Not letting Stephen Milne go either, is he? He's kind of matching every time you think he might make a little bit of a move. Just watching the ones behind, though. Again, we need to keep an eye on what the secondary race, if you like. And Caleb Hughes is probably just about broken the back of Tom Derbyshire and is starting to set his sights on catching the top two. 6:01.60 at the turn for Stephen Milne at 600, so they are just over 15-minute pace. Tim Shuttleworth with a 16:02.
That last 100 was 61.1, so they're starting to get into that low 61 stage. There's been 60-point highs previous to that. So still, we're all within half a second each 100. But Tim Shuttleworth has had a bit of an injury with his knees over the last couple of months. Has not been able to do any kick, so he's been purely pulling, using that pull boy and just doing lots of pull sets in January and February.
So lane 4, Stephen Milne, still with an advantage, but only a slight one over second place Tim Shuttleworth. Gap between those two and Caleb Hughes not appreciably reduced as we hit the 700 metre mark. 7:02.88 plays 7:03.19, so we're talking about a quarter of a second, a bit more than that, between first and second. Caleb Hughes 7:07.40 is turned in, but Tim Shuttleworth is right side by side with Stephen Milne, and looking good, looking very good indeed. In fact, they're going to go to the wall again, just about together. In fact, they're going to turn together, so the lead now is just over a quarter of a second again, not increasing that lead, Stephen Milne, and Tim Shuttleworth staying right with him all the way, although maybe this is where Stephen Milne will make his move.
We're coming up to the 800 metre mark. That last 100 was 61.2, so going backwards 61.2, 61.1, 60.8, 60.6, so he's still all within half a second, 0.6 of a second since the third 100.
0.28 separated the two as they moved away from our end of the pool to the other end of the pool. And interesting that Tim Shuttleworth just keep an eye on Stephen Milne, knowing that at some point he will try and make a break and trying to cover that break as best he can, see whether he's got enough in the tank to take him all the way. And Caleb Hughes not making any inroads, in fact, if anything, probably drifting a little bit further behind the top two. Gap now is a third of a second at that split from Stephen Milne to Tim Shuttleworth, but not appreciable. That can be eaten into quite easily. So remember, a third of a second when they turned last time. This time it will be 900. 600 to go after this, and do you know what? I think Tim Shuttleworth might just take the lead here on this turn. Very tight. He has. By 3/100ths of a second.
Yep, you just see him kind of up that stroke rate a little bit, just start to edge in out a little bit. So be interesting to see the response now from Stephen Milne. They have been pretty much neck and neck the whole way through, eyeballing each other.
Remember, we're talking about somebody who has previously only been around the 15:15 mark. His entry time 15:15.74 for Tim Shuttleworth, and he has not made the decisive move yet, but he has got his nose in front. Maybe Stephen Milne's thinking, well, this is okay, this is a good pace, I know I'm going to be into that final, and maybe doesn't want to overstretch himself, but Shuttleworth going for a really good marker, and we're talking about maybe a 10-second PB if he keeps going at this kind of rate. When they touch the wall this time, it will be 500 to go, so 2/3 gone. Stephen Milne's just reclaimed first place, but only by 7/100ths of a second.
Yeah, he certainly has. Just started to see the pace slip on the previous 100 by half a second, 61.9. Let's work this last 100 out. 62.0. So they're just starting to slip a little bit into that 62 realm, 61 high. But as we saw in the previous heat, around about this stage is when Daniel Jervis picked it up and started to to extend that lead over the rest of the field, see if anybody was going to go with him. Nobody did. Daniel Fogg tried to respond.
Now, the target time to win it overall, to be in lane 4 for tomorrow, 15:13.88. Well, both of them are capable of doing that from this position with 400 to go. Now, who's going to be leading? That's the question. Who's going to get to the wall first? Just, I think, Stephen Milne. Yeah, he does. Only 19/100ths of a second. It was a great turn, though. Probably taking a little bit more out of Tim Shuttleworth on that turn. Caleb Hughes having to swim his own race a good 15 metres behind. And then in 4th place, well, I kind of wrote Nathan Hughes off, didn't I, earlier on? He's managed to creep up into 4th place somehow.
There's a possible spot in tomorrow night's final. Top 4 from the previous heat will be going through. Top 3 from this heat you would like to think will go through. That leads an extra spot, so depending on the time, Nathan Hughes could probably get into tomorrow night's final. If not, he will be in one of the Junior or Target Tokyo finals.
If indeed there are any for 1500, because it went for the women's 8. So
that's a very good point.
Yeah,
that is a very good point.
300 to go. Stephen Milne now with an advantage of about half a second over Tim Shuttleworth. 3rd place Caleb Hughes, and he finds himself about 9 seconds adrift of those two. And Nathan Hughes is making some inroads in the lane closest to us in 4th place. Turns in 12:26.90. There's still no decisive bursts from Stephen Milne. Do you think he'll be happy just to keep it like this?
Yeah, I certainly do. Looking at the last 300, it's gone 62.0, 61.9, 61.7. So they're starting to pick up that pace a little bit. This will be the 1300 mark. So 200 metres to go at the next turn.
And Shuttleworth still has designs on winning this, I think. I don't think he wants to be headed by Stephen Milne, even though he's a more established 1500 metre freestyle swimmer. He's not letting him go. Stephen Milne's not breaking him. And the two will still go into the wall pretty much side by side. 22/100ths only separated them. The better turns coming from Stephen Milne, definitely. Making a little bit up on those turns, but then as soon as he's made it up, Tim Shuttleworth claims it all the way back in the first 25, although not visibly this time. You can see a little bit of a move possibly being made by Stephen Milne.
Pace just slipped on that 100 to 62.3. So do expect them to a bit of a sprint finish down the last 100. Both these boys will want to be in the centre lanes for tomorrow night. They're going to be in 3, 4 or 5 for sure.
Quasimodo is waiting with his bell to signal that they're going to come back for the last time. 100 to go. There they go. Let those bells ring out. Campanologist delight. Stephen Milne, 14:15.66. Half a second or more ahead of Tim Shuttleworth, who's covering his every move. So Stephen Milne's not going to get a massive distance, it would seem, over Shuttleworth at this stage. Question is, can he get inside 15:15, which is his PB, and Caleb Hughes just making sure he secures his place in the final tomorrow night.
61.2 previous 100, so yeah, definitely picking up the pace. With 150 to go, now is a clear advantage. A massive turn from Stephen Milne. Picking up the leg kick a little bit more, the stroke rate increases, got 30 metres to go. Tim Shuttleworth is still hanging in there, but it's going to be Stephen Milne that takes heat number 3. The men's 1500s have to look at the time.
15:13.88 was the time of the previous heat. Fastest heat so far is going to be outside that. And also, it's not going to be a personal best for Shuttleworth either. 15:17 he touches in. 15:16.02 for Stephen Milne. And in comes Caleb Hughes in 3rd place with a time of 15:27. That'll be good enough to make the final. Nathan Hughes will have to wait, I think, as he comes in 15:35. Well, that was a great second half of the race for Nathan Hughes, who was cast adrift for a long time, but really picked up his stroke rate. And he's never been inside 16 before. Do you know that's a massive personal best? I'm just looking at his entry time is 16:00:66. Nathan Hughes just on a 15:35. That's a 25-second PB.
You can see him in the lane closest to us. He's just in every single event this week.
And he actually looks all right. He's not breathing. Well, he's breathing the correct way. Hopefully he's breathing. Or we'll have to send the lifeguard in, but he looks fine. And everybody now in. All the results should be confirmed, and then we'll give you the finalists for tomorrow night. Stephen Milne to confirm, second fastest of the morning with 15:16:02. So Daniel Jervis fastest, Stephen Milne, Tim Shuttleworth, Dan Fogg, Jay Lelliott, Caleb Hughes, Jack Burnell, and yes, Nathan Hughes does make it into the final with 5:35. So Tom Derbyshire is the man to miss out. So well done to Nathan Hughes. That's your 1:28 for tomorrow's final of the 1500 metres freestyle.
So we've just seen the 1500 metres bronze medalist in this pool, Daniel Jervis, go fastest seed into tomorrow night's final against Stephen Milne. What did you think of those heats this morning?
To be honest, it's the first time I've actually felt quite excited about a 1500 metres final. Usually it seems like there's just one person that's just going to dominate, but tomorrow it looks like we've got a great race on. I mean, in the final heat, Stephen Milne versus Tim Shuttleworth, a great performance by Tim. He had already performed in the 400 metres earlier in the week, showing he's in great form, but he was on Stephen Milne's shoulder the whole way and is clearly putting himself in the mix for the medal. So I'm excited about how that race is going to unfold.
So that consideration time is 14:55.11. We have both Stephen and Daniel going underneath that with their personal best. What are you thinking about maybe hitting underneath that consideration time tomorrow night?
Definitely within their capabilities. We can't read too much into the times this morning. You know, as a long distance swimmer, you don't want to put it all out in the heats. It's a long way to go. I saw a couple of swimmers getting out after their heats. They're exhausted, but they know they've got enough left in the tank to be able to go even faster than tomorrow. And with the likes of Stephen and with Dan Jervis, I mean, look at them. They're very relaxed. This looks like it's Stephen in the final phase of his heat, and I think it was quite good for him to have Tim on his shoulder. It allowed him to find some pace. It allowed him to have some competition. Sometimes these heats can feel quite lonely. Sometimes it feels like they haven't got anyone there to pace them. But in this particular race, he looked like he was in good form and feeling confident.
So we saw Daniel Jervis there going 15:13.08, so he is the fastest. There's quite a big gap. What are they going to be doing between now and tomorrow night's final to get ready for that race?
Well, like any swimmer, and you know very well, it's about getting that rest, getting that recovery. I saw all the swimmers zip out. I can just see Stephen Milne at the moment being interviewed, but he's going to want to be out, cooling down, restoring all those lost fuels that they've just burned and ready to face the day tomorrow. It's going to feel like a long day tomorrow because they won't have a heat in the morning. They'll probably get in for a bit of a swim, loosen up, get all that lactic acid that might still be rolling around their body, ready to get in for the final tomorrow evening, and it's going to be a great race.
So talking about finals, we've seen some real big names this morning swimming. We have seen Petey, we've seen Murdoch, we've seen Housel, we've seen Guy, we've seen Simmons, and then we've just seen Milne and Jervis. What are you thinking about tonight?
Tonight for me is all about the 200 metres breaststroke. That final, the men's 200 metres breaststroke, is going to be incredible. Murdoch versus Willis versus Petey versus Jameson. The experience and the talent in that pool is going to be incredible, and I cannot call it. I do not know where it's going to go, and probably the first time it seems a very open race. Murdoch and Jameson are going to have the home crowd behind them. Willis seems to have posted the fastest time, so I think it's going to be a great final.
So if you want to get in touch, use that hashtag BSC16. We are back tonight at 16:20. That's 6:20, ready for all the action, ready at 6:30. I'm going to be back with those finals this evening, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of those, especially that 200 metres breaststroke.